introduction. So Mr. Caleb here is going to be taking us through the introduction. So Mr. Caleb, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Joy. First and foremost, welcome everyone to the Google series, the Google's build with AI series of events. So we all know that AI is taking over a lot of things today, and it's at best that we, align ourselves with the emerging technology or the technologies that are actually going into different sectors that we are currently working or you're hoping to work in. So basically, build with AI. The build the AI series of Google. It's basically a program that Google designed for people who are interested in getting knowledge on AI, machine learning, and the likes. So basically, build with AI events is how Google lets you know about their developments in AI, their advancements in AI, and how to apply these things. So they want people to develop, people to use their models, and also apply it in their various um, development cycles, in their application building, and the likes. So basically, the build with AI has different subsection. So we call it Build with AI series. So it cuts across the generative AI. So usually we have intro to generative AI. It cuts across how to use the Google's Gemini product. So basically talking about Gemini's pattern of implementation, such as the patterns and the tasks, the function callings, and the LLM frameworks libraries from under Gemini. Um, Also talks about the use cases and the sample code for different types of application, including code generation, search and information synthesis, how to use retrieval argumented, augmented generation, and also function calling and understanding images, right? So we have generative AI, which is like the ground overview. Then we have under generative AI, Google has their Gemini, we have Gemma, we have what they call multimodal prompting and how the use cases for Gemini. And also we have Vertex AI. So this different um, information I'm giving you or different topics I'm mentioning are all under the Build with AI series. But for this particular occasion, it won't be possible for us to cover a lot of these subtopics under the Build with AI series. We're going to be talking about the generative AI, we're going to be talking about Gemini 101, and subsequently, as time subsequent on maybe in another series of events we might be rescheduling or might be scheduling, we'll get to talk about other AI applications. So I mentioned Gemini, I mentioned Vertex AI, how to build great AI demos, the Gemini show and tell, um, show and tell how to use the Gemini responsible AI for generative models. Basically, this session introduces the fundamentals and significance of responsible AI innovations. Right? We know that AI does a lot of things, yeah, but then we want to give the AI. The idea is building with responsibility, giving it boundaries of which it can, work with. So we will guide you through the responsible generative AI toolkit designed to ensure ethical use of open models like Gemma, and also to work together through relevant code labs to help you put your learning into practice. So there are just so many things under the Build with AI series, and here with me on this call we have our speakers. We have Mr. Steven here, who is one of our speaker. We have Mr. Steven is a good software engineer, an AI and ML engineer. Mr. Steven, yeah, Mr. Steven Oladile, yeah. We have Mr. Moses Onche, also is also a software engineer who is here who will be taking part in anchoring one of the subsections we have in the program. So I want to believe a lot of us here have heard about AI, or we have used AI in our development cycle, or we are just trying to build stuff around AI, as the case may be. Whichever way, we are here to tell you more about how to apply AI using Google's models and using Google's um, generative kit, AI kits, and the like. So, that being said, thank you very much, Joy. Thank you very much, Stephen, for coming to being on the call. So, Stephen is um, a software engineer, an AI professional, AI machine engineer, and he will also be taking us on introduction to generative AI. So please keep your ears on the ground. So this basically the introduction to generative AI is an intro section. Will help you understand the basics of ML and AI concepts and how to use them. We help you understand. Mr. Stephen will tell you how help you understand the concept of generative AI, what are transformers and LLMs, understand different model types, and learn the basics about Google's AI ecosystems. Yeah, under the Google's AI ecosystem, we have the Gemini, we have the Vertex AI, and we have our very important AI studio. So it doesn't mean that if you don't have a pro knowledge of machine learning or AI, you should be scared or you should, chicken out. No, no, no. These are basic informations that you can process. And also, Mr. Moses Anche will be telling us about Gemini. Yeah, you learn the best practices for creating AI demos that are both deeply engaging and have participants learning about products in an easy and fun way. So, we want to indoctrinate you to the Gemini products so that you can go ahead to build stuff with this Google's ecosystem toolkit. So, that being said, I wouldn't want to take much of your time. Thank you very much, Joy. I think we will need to move over to the next section. Thank you very much, Joy, and welcome everyone to this Build the AI series. Joy, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, all right. Thank you so much for that introduction, Caleb, Mr. Caleb. Mr. Caleb is. Did you even introduce yourself? I don't think you did. Or
Okay,
I didn't
okay. So,
introduce you. My bad. No, 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 no. My bad. I have to introduce my boss now. Come on. So, Mr. Caleb is the lead, one of the leads here at GDG Cloud Harcourt, and I'm going to leave the other introduction to him to tell you guys what he's into, in case you need someone to reach out to help you in your tech journey. Yeah. So, Mr. Caleb, over to you again.
okay, basically, Caleb is a software engineer, an associate cloud developer. Yeah, basically, and someone who is diving into AI currently because Google, as a Google lead, Google is basically having us get trained on how to use and apply AI. So I'm not going to say I'm a newbie around the AI and generative AI and on the Google toolkit, but either way, it's good to be here, and I hope you guys enjoy and learn as we proceed. Thank you very much, Joy.
All right, thank you, Caleb. Thank you, Caleb. So before we call on the first speaker for today, I just want to say another shout out to my boss, one of my bosses, Mr. Philip Obira. He's in the building. I don't think he can speak, but he's in the building, and I want to say a big shout out to him. This wouldn't have been possible without him and Mr. Caleb as well. So Mr. Philip is a data analyst, front end developer, back end developer. He's into cloud, he's into DevOps, he's into data analytics, literally everything. My boss is everywhere. So in case you need assistance with anything, you can always reach out to him in the platform, the GDG Cloud platform. If you're not on the WhatsApp group, you can just indicate and I'll drop the link for you to join. Mr. Philip, if you're here and you can speak, please just notify me, maybe raise your hand or something so I can call you on. But if you're not, we're just going to move on to having the first speaker come on board. Okay, I don't think he is. So, okay, just like what Mr. Caleb said, we're going to go straight into introduction to generative AI. And taking notes on this is Mr. Stephen Oladele. Yeah, Mr. Stephen Oladele. Hi, Mr. Stephen. I can see you here. Is Mr. Steven here? Oh,
He
I
is, he's
just
here.
yeah, I just made him a presenter.
He's presenting.
Yeah,
Can you hear me? Can you hear
yeah,
me?
Very well.
yeah.
Okay, all right. Um, okay, let me share my screen. I can share my screen. Okay, I can do that now. Just give me a moment.
Mr. Steven, if you're okay, were you speaking? Because couldn't hear.
All right. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yes. Um,
Okay then. Hello, everybody. Super excited to be here today to talk to you all about introduction to generative AI and Gemini, Google's Gemini API, which I'm also super excited about. Uh, just sorry, just give me a moment.
Please also, so while our presenters, our speakers are presenting, if you have questions, please do drop the questions on the Q&A session, right? On the interface. Use the Q&A session to drop your questions so that at the end of Mr. Stevens' presentation, he will be able to tackle your questions. Yeah. So please, if you have questions while presentations are made, please do well to use the Q&A session. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about the delay there. I had to fend up something. So yeah, so welcome again once again to the event. My name is Stephen Oladele. I'm currently a developer relations engineer at Encode, AI developer relations engineer. And what we do at Encode, we are a computer vision platform. So essentially for teams developing computer vision products, we get a platform to annotate data sets. And you're going to be learning a bit more about multimodality here. We give them the platform to annotate data sets, creates video, sort of curates video data, images and stuff like that. So that's what essentially we do. So most top UK firms, from the military to the healthcare sector, they use our platform to do a lot of geospatial data annotation and video data curation. But also we also have tools for evaluating ML models or computer vision ML models that you build. All right. Aside from Encode, I'm also part of an interesting group of community, AI Community Africa. We've been, I think that was where I got to meet Philip. Okay, yeah, yes, somewhat around where I got to meet Philip Obiora, who sort of introduced me to this call. And then, I'm also part of an interesting group of tech content creators for AI. And so, if you're sort of interested, if you have an AI background or you're a software engineer or an AI engineer, and you're interested in creating high quality videos, blogs, whatever, however, those sort of content, please reach out. My email is steven.aicommunityafrica.org. So, I'm always happy to chat. In my free time, just shoot me an email. Say you're from like the GDG community or the AI Community Africa. I'm always happy to chat. Yeah, so a big caveat here. I'm a bit jaded from my my sprints last night, so I worked late on my sprint, so I might sound a bit lethargic. So if I'm not very enthusiastic or I don't have a lot of energy coming through my voice, I'm not usually like that, right? I just had a long night yesterday, and then I my computer may go off for some reason. I started noticing like blue screen of death. these days, which is AI. And but before we sort of get into what generative AI is, I would really love to hear from you. Bear in mind that if I don't hear from you, I don't proceed. So essentially, we all stay here on one slide, right? So I'd love to sort of hear from you, sort of give your ideas. If you can mute, I don't think you can unmute, sorry. But if you can, please share in the chat, please share what you think generative AI is. And I'm not saying you should go to ChatGPT and ask, from your perspective, from your personal perspective, not an LLM's perspective, what is generative AI? I'd love to see some answers before we proceed. Nothing's rolling in yet. This should not be our first time hearing GenAI. Artificial human conversations. Okay, that's fair. And yeah, thanks for sharing that, Sohail. Anybody else? I would like just 2 or 3 more answers and we're good. Making use of AI to generate content. Interesting info insights. Thank you, Kichiko. Can we use the chat? Yeah, absolutely. You can use the chat, please. You don't have to unmute. Yeah, I did mention that. Anybody else? Just one more and then we're good. Okay, creates new results by combination of data it was trained with. Yeah, that's quite appropriate. Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing that, Amara, Chico, and everyone else will sort of share their insights. So yeah, generally, generative AI is essentially what it is from the name itself, is an AI that generates things, right? And if we are familiar with what we call the conventional, traditional AI has always been a predictor, right? If you've been in AI for the past 4 or 5 years, not before, way before the ChatGPT boom, you would realize that a lot of the things that you use what we call AI, air quotes, for, is really in the is really in a predictive sense. So you're using AI to predict what will happen next based on data it was trained on, right? And that data could be images, such data, sorry, it could be images, it could be videos, it could be text, it could be audio, and all of those type of stuff, right? It's been a predictor up until this time. And predicting generally as well is also kind of generating things. So it's kind of like saying, it wasn't there before. It's like, for example, you train a model to be able to predict like stock prices, right? That prediction in itself is generation, but we've not had it at the scale, and I'm going to be going into that. But yeah, essentially, Gen AI is a type of AI that sort of creates new things, stories, pictures. You guys have used ChatGPT probably to generate like essays, and if you're using Udio or Sumo to generate music and all this type of stuff, and even generate computer code, right? With Copilot and some of those other interesting tools out there. It's like, it's really awesome. It's sort of changed the landscape of what we've been doing today. All right, so there are different types of Gen AI, right? So you have the most common one, which is the large language model, and then there are other ones that are like, sorry, they are also they come from like the same spare. I'm going to be talking about that spare briefly. We have the visual language models, we have the diffusion models, we have the we have the diffusion models and all of that. We have the generative adversarial networks. If you've been in AI even before the ChatGPT boom, you must have known about generative adversarial networks. So these are some of the types of generative AI models that we have in place today. And no worries if you don't understand those things yet, or if you're just kind of new to AI. Well, essentially, I'm just trying to establish the premise that this isn't all new, right? That AI has been here for a really, really long time, from the times of neural networks, and now we are in an interesting time with a lot of generative systems today. So yeah, the most common type of AI there is what we call the large language model, and essentially this is like a neural network that's a sort of an AI model that has been trained based on a lot of text, essentially the entire internet. Some models have been trained on the entire internet. So from public forums, anything that has text, anywhere that there's text on the internet, most of them have probably scraped all the all the data and use it to train this large language model. An example of them is, of course, GPT-4. GPT-4 is a large language model, GPT 3.5 as well. When you go to ChatGPT, you type in your query, and then you're able to sort of get a response back. One of the thing that is actually powering ChatGPT is in fact a large language model, GPT-4, GPT 3.5, and sort of that type of stuff. So what it does is like it takes input like, okay, it's raining cats, and then it gives the next word based on what it has seen on the data. Essentially, it does the same thing that we try to do, we've done as humans, right? Going back to your primary school days, you learned how to, from your ABC, you were trained on ABC, and then you graduated from ABC to words, and then you went from words to how to construct sentences, and then you went from sentences to learning about paragraphs, and then learning about verbs, action, word, pronouns, nouns, and stuff like that. You progressively learned based on all the data, in quotes, that all your teachers over the past years have trained on you. And as humans, we have like far more orders on orders of magnitude, far more interesting power in our brain than any other computation power out there. So you've trained over time from primary school to now. Probably you're in your PhD or you're doing your masters. You've trained and learned a lot from a lot of things. Even outside of the school, right? You learn from your family, you learn from your friends, you learn from basically everything in the world around you, right? Essentially, that's what LLM sort of aims to do, is that you train it with a lot of data, and then when you try to say, hey, could you help me out with this, based on all the data that it's been trained on, it's able to sort of generate something, just like we are talking today, right? I wouldn't know the meaning of the word generative if I've never come across it before, right? So I'm able to use it flawlessly because I've been able to be trained on it, and I'm able to put together different sequence of words that form the sentence that I'm talking about right now. Essentially, that's just what large language models do. You train them on this internet, and then they're able to piece in words together to answer your query. I was invited here by Philip, that's the query, right, to come and give this presentation on intro to generative AI, and that's sort of what I'm doing. And if I didn't have any experience with this before, I won't be able to sort of give this particular presentation, or at least give it properly without hallucinating. So yeah, it's essentially a very sophisticated autocomplete system. So most of us probably know autocomplete for like a few years back, right? So where we are using like keyboards, our keyboards was like our keyboards were sort of generating words for us. They were generating the next sequence of words and stuff like that. So this is like that type of thing, but on steroids, right? Some of us were even probably using like something like Microsoft autocomplete tools. I think it's Pilot, if I'm not mistaken, that could sort of autocomplete our code. This was like 3 years ago or 4 years ago, even before the boom of ChatGPT. But now it's gone crazy because it can go from just generating one line or the next line to generating an entire corpus of text or an entire page of text. So that's really the amazing thing that large language model sort of brought for us. So we've had something like you've had like ML models, very simple neural network ML models, what they call like large language, long LSTM models or recurrent neural networks. They've gone from being able to say, okay, you've trained this model from roses are red, and then it's able to say, hey, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, because it's seen that in its training data before. It's seen such poetry in its training data before. So these sort of things I've been able to memorize and able to say, okay, if he says, if the user says or she says roses are red, it tries to predict what the likely next word is, right? And that's what traditional ML would do, right? And the same thing, like I said, with code samples, most of these models have been trained specifically to do this thing. So before the ChatGPT boom, you'd have models that have been trained to autocomplete poetry or autocomplete code or autocomplete, something in the medical field or something like that. Those models were trained specifically to autocomplete things in that particular domain. You would hardly see any model that worked really well for all cases, right? And yeah, this is the same thing here. So, but that's that. But fast forward to now, where in 2024, ChatGPT was released. I think it was in 2023 or sorry, 2022, and then we've seen a proliferation of this modern large language models. Right? What's the difference between those traditional models that could do autocompletes for us before, a few years back, and now these models that are here today? Is that these guys are really, really large, and that's why they're called large language models. We've gone from language models, which were the recurrent neural networks or the RNN or the very basic neural networks or the LSTM networks. We've gone from that to what we call now large language models. Now, what is powering these large language models? How were we able to make this transition from something that could only predict the next line to something that could predict an entire page, sometimes even an entire textbook? Some people are writing textbooks now with ChatGPT. It's sort of crazy. There's a particularly interesting component there that's called transformers. Now, transformers was sort of introduced back in, I think, 2017, and it was sort of like a seminal paper at that point for AI. And what it simply does is that, rather than the typical sort of LSTM and the neural networks, the very conventional machine learning models, it just sort of adds what we call an attention layer into it. So it helps the sort of model focus on very specific parts that can help give it the context. So with this particular roses are red, what's it called? With this particular roses are red example, right? So this it gives like roses are red, violets and blue, sugar is sweet. It does this, but it doesn't really understand the context of what it's trying to say. I mean, it doesn't understand that this is a proper poetry, right? It just gives it based on all the data it's been trained on. But what Transformer does that really takes LLMs to the next level is helps it focus on very specific parts of its training data, or even when it's predicting a sequence of, when it's predicting the next word, that it's such that the model is understanding the entire context of what you're trying to say. So this now feels like you're talking to a human. Before, when you had autocomplete, it feels like it's a machine, right? Just predicting the next word. But now, whenever you're chatting, interacting with most of these large language models large language model application, it feels like you're chatting to like a human that's there that answers all your questions, that gives you poetry and stuff like that, right? The transformer are sort of in a high level. I'm not going to go into the details because I know we're beginners, but at the high level, it's added what we call it's been able to help the system or to help the model really understand the context of both what it's being trained on using attention mechanism, but also when it's trying to predict something, right? Also helps to understand like the context itself. So, or when it's trying to generate something. So that's really the insane part of it. And for this to work really well, the models need to be really large. Now, what does large mean? It essentially means two things. Like large means this model has been trained on a lot of data sets, like crazy amounts of billions, a lot of data sets. Like it's been trained on billions and billions of what we call tokens. So tokens are like just parts of words, sentences, and all of those things. Anything that you can pass to an LLM can sort of consume is called a token. So it's been trained on a lot of data sets on the internet. That's one of the reasons why it's called large. But also too is because it's really, really large. Now, when you say something has lots of parameters, it means like it's memorized a lot of these things from the internet that it's so hard to even fit it when it comes to the size of the model. It's so hard to fit it on your hard drive, right? Or it's so hard to, I mean, you can't fit it on your hard drive, but it's really, really, it's what we call the size is big. So we are referring to the size of the model. We're also referring to the size of the data sets that it's been trained on, but also we're also referring to the amount of computational power, which is like insignificant, but majorly we're looking at the size of the model as well as the size of the data set. That's why it's sort of considered really, really large. So they've been trained on like different languages, different contexts from around the web. Essentially everything that's out there publicly on the internet is most likely been trained on it. So they have like sometimes even trillions of those parameters. So that's why when you hear something like Llama 270B or Llama 28B, just means that that's 8 billion parameters. 70B is like 13B is like 13 billion parameters. And I think with the recent release of Llama 3, if you're following the news, they have like something like 400 billion parameter model that is still training. And they recently released like the 70 billion parameter Llama 3, 70 billion parameter model. So essentially this designates that rather than it's gone from just being a simple model that can predict the next line to something that has the capacity to retain context to predict an entire page of word, right? And that's a really, really transformative aspect of how we've sort of grown over the past from like 2017 to where we are right now to, in 2024, where we're able to take AI that sort of understands language in some sense or comprehends language. I could remember back in 2020, I don't know if I can share this with Philip. We were working on an NLP application, and we struggled a lot with really piecing all these things, like chunking all the text, and training the model, and then eventually getting like something from WhatsApp chat and all of those things. But right now, it's as easy as just taking the data we have and they're just passing it to the AI model, and it's able to generate things like sentiments from the charts you're having, or is able to generate things like what the key points from the charts are. It's as simple as that. But before then, like I think this was like 2019, Philip, when we were working on this app, it was really, really difficult for us to sort of get to that part. But now we have this system. So it's kind of like a trade-off. We had small models who couldn't do anything. We had to do all the things ourselves to be able to get the model to understand what we're trying to tell it to do. But now we have large language models that are really big, but again, they can give us the idea that, they understand what we're trying to say. They understand context, right? They understand the context of your conversation. You can pass a WhatsApp chat to it and it's able to understand there are two different speakers in the WhatsApp chat. It's able to understand the most important things you guys have said and all of those things and give you like the key points from that chat. So that's essentially a crucial part of what it is today. So what can you use large language models for? Essentially, what you've been using traditional AI and natural language or language models for. And please hear the key distinction here. I'm distinguishing between language models and large language models. Again, just referring back to the fact that large language models are slightly different from language models, right? Because they're really large, obviously. So yeah, so I mean, it makes it really useful for traditional natural language processing tasks. You have like entity extraction. So entity extraction here, you're simply meaning, okay, based on this chat, can I extract who the subject or the object is? For example, if you're in a WhatsApp chat and then you mention somebody's name, this particular model is able to take that person's name and say, okay, this person has a name. The name is different from like when you're just casually saying something, right? When you can able to detect what a name is, what a place, essentially nouns, sort of noun that you can use to sort of do other research. So someone's name, a location, and all of those places, it's able to extract what we call those entities, an institution and stuff like that. It's able to classify the text. For example, you're trying to look through like a bunch of reviews and you're saying, is this positive or is this negative? Is this a positive review or is this a negative review or is it neutral, as the case may be? And it's able to summarize a long piece of text. I use this a lot to do a lot of summarization when I want to sort of get the piece out of it. I mean, it's a really, really nice tool for summarization. And we had this before. Like I said, we used to have this before, but it's not as efficient as this. And like I said, it's come with the trade-off of having large models these days. And then you have like, sentiment analysis. I think for classification, you're trying to classify it. You're trying to classify a particular part of the text and what this particular text is trying to say. Is it talking about agriculture? Is this talking about farming? Is this talking about hospitality, healthcare, and stuff like that? But with sentiment analysis, just what I said earlier, which is this a positive sentiment based on this review? Is this a negative sentiment? Is it a neutral sentiment, as the case may be? Well, for translation, can you go from English to Swahili or to whatever language you're sort of, and this is one of the things that large language models are very good at doing because they've been trained on the entire internet, right? So most likely you must have encountered different languages to be able to convert, understand the context between two languages. So when you're going from English to French, or when you're going from English to Yoruba or Igbo and stuff like that. So that's it. So a lot of things as well. I mean, so many things that we are still trying to uncover as well. We do a lot of research at Harcourt, and I'm fortunate to be part of like the research team sometimes, and it's insane, the amount of things we are uncovering that these LLMs are doing. So it's really, really insightful. Yeah, so on top of all these abilities, right, LLM helps us do one thing, which is prototype really fast. I mentioned the other time that myself and Philip, we worked on this application a few years back, and I can remember the amount of time it really took us to go from just even build a simple prototype, right? We spent nights and nights and nights, I could remember, on that particular application. But right now, it's this has taken all those days into months, from all those days, months, and stuff like that into, excuse me, all those days, months into very simple 1 minute this thing. So you just pass like the WhatsApp chat or the data we're sort of looking at, and then this LLM is able to really pass through the data set and understand the context and provide everything we want to be able to sort of get. So it's really, really made prototyping really fast, right? That has cut like work that would usually take us months and years to pretty much few minutes these days. And it's really huge because, like LLM-powered application would mean that we sort of collect like lots and lots of data sets, lots and lots of like examples and stuff like that, and train and tune the model before we start to understand if it's actually useful, right? So it's a lot of experimentation there. It's really taking that down, and that would usually take a lot of time, right? It's taking that down, but it's sort of brought about this power in our hands where I'm building an AI app for a customer service application or an education application. I can quickly take that and test my ideas, and this is like this is like one of the things that I see that they sort of get excited about, because even in my line of work, I work with a lot of developers who do with multimodal AI, and I'm going to be talking about that briefly. But they just see how exciting it is that they can just go from the idea they have in their head to quickly just churning out an application. So you could be a JavaScript or an app developer. You don't have to do all of those gathering data sets, going to prune those data sets, pre-process those data sets, do a lot of feature engineering and all of that. It's now easy now to know that you have an idea, and then you can just, quickly plug in that idea and see if it works, get an idea if it works. And that obviously from there, you can sort of build your application to whatever perfect threshold that you want. But it's sort of provided accessibility to a lot of applications these days. And that's why you're practically seeing it everywhere. It's gone from being all those niche things that people can just people who only know AI and ML can do, to something that even developers now can plug into. I mean, you are a user of AI because you probably go to ChatGPT every day, or Perplexity, or Bard, or Cloud Sonnet, or any other thing, any other LLM that's out there. You're a user of ChatGPT, so it's really made that thing accessible. It's really made the usage of AI accessible, and that's really one of the craziest parts of these LLMs. And like I said, thanks to the massive size of LLMs here, they're able to perform well on practically any huge new class of human language. Like, for example, you might want it to explain sarcasm. I mean, we didn't really have this before now, right? AI can literally explain sarcasm. And even now these days, we are seeing that it can explain sarcasm at the local context. So like, it can actually get some Nigerian sarcasm. When you say sarcasm in Pidgin, it's able to sort of get that, right? Even though it's not been exposed to a lot of those particular languages, right? It's able to sort of get an idea of what you're trying to say. And it's insane because, like I said, it goes back to the component I talked about, which is context understanding, that this AI model is not what we call the stochastic parrot, although people argue that it is a stochastic parrot. I'm going to talk about that briefly. But when I mean stochastic parrot, it doesn't just generate random things, which technically under the hood it does, but there's also that component of it understanding the context behind what you're trying to say, right? And we've been able to see that context understanding has transferred into understanding humor, or understanding or sarcasm and stuff like that. So I mean, if you see the slide, you just pretty much look at it, and then it's like, hey, explain this joke, and it's able to take that joke and break it down and explain it, because it understands the context behind that, just like humans would understand, right? So that's it might not do it very well, but I mean, it does a better job at it than traditional models. Another one is, you could say, like, give me 5 neat ideas for science fair project. And rather than predicting the next line of word, like I said, it's able to predict like an entire sequence, an entire document, which is really nice. I'm just going to stop here. If you have any question, please leave them in the chat. I'll be able to get to them as I sort of roll through the chat. I know we have quite a lot to cover in less than 20 minutes. Or 30 minutes. So please, if you have any question, leave them in the chat. Happy to. And if you think I'm too fast, also leave them in the chat. I'm really open to any feedback at all. All right. Please leave them in the chat. I'll be happy to sort of get to them. Yeah. So like I said, you can generate ideas, generate corpus of text. People are using it to generate books these days, generate textbooks and stuff like that. So it's really nice. So yeah, like I mentioned, why are they different? So the truth of the matter is that it's just down to 3 reasons, right? So they have this emergent abilities, which means that they do not have to be explicitly trained to do things, right? So even if they have not seen that thing before, that that you're trying to pass it. So maybe you're trying to pass it like a joke in Pidgin, or a joke in your local language and stuff like that. Highly likely that it might not get it, but there's also going to be some attempt to get it, such that you feel like, oh yeah, this I really try. So it's not just a random generation of things, right? It gives you an idea that I may not understand what you're trying to say, but I think I get it at a high level, which is one of the things that is insane about a large language models, that the fact that it might not even have been trained to do that thing that it's doing, but it's still able to sort of get an idea of what you're trying to do, or what you're trying to say, and give you results for it. It can learn how to translate, answer questions, write code for you, review code for you, and all of this type of stuff. Right. So literally just using it as an assistant, as an extension of yourself. So next is, LLMs can, change how we interact with intelligent systems because of their contextual understanding. Like I mentioned, context is really key here. LLMs have contextual understanding of human language. So with an LLM, for example, rather than, if you're not very good at SQL or SQL, you could just write something in plain human language, and this tool can actually help you generate a query from it, right? So, I mean, some of you that have been running away from SQL, now you have a saving grace, right? So you can just pass like a normal language query, and then and then you just sorry, a normal language, and say, hey, help me select all the users that's logged in from Ibadan at 12 a.m. today. And then, it just generates that for you. And as we'll see over the course of this particular talk, it can also generate like a table and stuff like that just based off of that. It's crazy, really crazy stuff. I don't know if I'm the only one really excited about this, even though I've been in this field for a reasonable amount of time. And but there are some things that you just never see coming. I mean, it shows signs, but it's crazy how exponential the growth would be. We used to think that when I can remember when the transformer models came out in 2017. I had not really gotten into the field at that time, but we got to learn about it in 2018. And then everyone was like, "Oh, is this the next big thing, or is it not?" And there were like issues with all this computational bottlenecks and stuff like that. And then we just realized that in 2019 you had things like generative adversarial networks that were generating images and stuff. And then you just realized 2020, 2021, things started to just skyrocket. In 2020, obviously, it came out with a insane progress with ChatGPT. So you see that these things have really been progressing, and it's crazy how much they've been able to comprehend human language now. And yes, finally, LLMs are next in our machine learning journey. So if you started, like I said, started machine learning years ago, you could use like simple linear regression to find like patterns. But then obviously with neural networks and now transformers on top of neural networks, which transformers are a type of neural network architecture, you're not able to sort of unlock hidden patterns in much larger data sets. LLMs can help you find those connections in massive, diverse data sets. So yeah, like I mentioned, I wouldn't sort of go through this history too much because I realize that a lot of us are probably new to the space, but I'm seeing a few faces that are not so new to the space, so you probably know where I'm going with this. And one of the things that we see is in 2015, like I said, sorry, it's 2015. You have like Google DeepMind, AlphaGo beats like the Go champion. There's a really interesting documentary. I think you should watch it. So it's AlphaGo. It's on YouTube. It's really interesting. You sort of get an if you're new, especially if you're new to AI. It's a way to sort of get yourself pumping, and I think you should watch AlphaGo on YouTube from DeepMind. In 2016, DeepMind sort of helps like detect eye diseases. That's if I'm not mistaken, that model was a retina. It was able to help detect like retina diseases, which is really, really nice. And then, like I said, in 2017, we invented the transformer, which is the attention is all you need paper, seminal paper. In 2018, Google developed what we call BERT, and BERT is still like one of the standard embedding models today. You have like text to speech, and as you can see, the progress has been really, really has gone from even being linear to what we call exponential these days. So it's if you're really in the field, you realize that jumping from what we saw in 2017 to what we can now see in 2023 and 2027. Sorry, 2024. It's really insane. It's quite exponential. So yeah. Okay, so yeah, so before we sort of go into the rest of the particular talk, I would like to talk about multimodality, and this is where I actually spend a lot of my time on in my field of work, or in my work is multimodality. But before I go into that, I think I've been talking a lot, and no one has question, which is deeply concerning. It might mean two things: you don't understand what I'm saying, or you do understand that this is like piece of cake for you. That way, it feels like okay, maybe this is not meant to happen, right? So if you do have any question at all, like I said, or if you do understand what I'm saying, please acknowledge so I know that somebody is following. I don't want to sort of mindlessly go through these slides and realize that, okay, I should have spent this time probably playing tennis or something. But I really love just doing this stuff. So I'd really appreciate if you have any question, and if you don't understand at all, please let me know. I'd be happy to really explain things, right? I know I still have a few minutes left, but I'll be happy to explain things. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So before I go on, into multimodality, I would love you to explain if like what are the examples of the senses that we have, right? And I think that will give a proper context into what we understand as multimodality. Uh, I know we learned about the six senses. Or is it the five or six senses? Oh no, five senses. The six senses, like a divine sense. Anyways, So, what are the examples of the five senses we have as humans? Like I said, if I don't get any response, I'm not going forward. Yeah, smell, touch, sight, smell, touch, sound, taste. Incredible. Yeah, sight, smell, touch, sound, taste. Yeah, that's pretty much it, right? So we have like those five senses. Some people will call it six senses, maybe conspiracy theorists, people in religion. I don't know. But yeah, yeah. So hearing, you have taste, you have sight, you have smell, you have touch. And essentially that's what multimodality is all about. So multimodality is saying rather than just saying text, meaning like rather than just saying we use text alone to really understand AI, or AI just comprehends text alone, meaning you're just passing in poetry and stuff like that. Can AI also comprehend images? And this is like in the sense of what the senses mean for computers, right? As humans, we have the five senses of sight, of smell, of touch, sound, and taste that helps us understand the environment around us, right? Sound helps us balance. If you go back to your biology classes, you understand that sound helps with not just hearing but also balance. Hearing also helps with balance and getting in sound. They have taste, which helps us understand what we are eating, and just the environment around us. Sight helps us give a spatial awareness or depth into things. Smell helps us also understand the environment around us, and touch also helps us with spatial understanding. So these are things that we do as humans, right? And the researchers are saying, okay, hey, why don't we transfer this capability as well to AI? And this is really where multimodality comes in, right? Multimodality is saying that rather than just we know that computers are really good at comprehending text and all of those things. So rather than that, can it also comprehend audio, right? Can it also comprehend videos? Can it also comprehend images? Can it also comprehend what we call depth? When I mean depth is like, usually computers see things in 2D, but also there's also 3D. There are also 3D dimensions, which our world is 3D, in three dimensions. There are potentially also higher dimensions and stuff like that. Can it also comprehend dimensions as well to help it understand space? And that's what multimodality essentially is all about. So rather than having to use ChatGPT for just images alone, for just text alone, and say, hey, generate a poetry for me, a line of poetry or a corpus of poetry for me, can you also pass it an image and say, hey, explain this image for me, and it's able to also understand it. The same model, not just a different model. The same model the same model that was able to help you generate poetry is also able to help you understand and identify things in an image. Or when you pass it a sound, maybe it could be like your meeting recording, and say, hey, generate the key points from this meeting. It's also able to understand the audio, right? And then you pass it a different type of format, maybe the thermal format and stuff like that. I was able to understand as well, is there depth in this particular image? So that's essentially what multimodality is all about, is that can we get uh, can we pass different inputs like the text, the sound, the video, the audio into a particular large language model, and it's able to give us back either an image or a text. So right now it's only able to generate two things, right? An image or a text, although there are some large language models these days, or some generative AI models that are also able to generate audio. Udio.com, I think, Udio or Sumo.com, you see interesting models like that. So yeah, that's it. So rather than just text alone, now it has four modalities, right, instead of just one modality, and that's what modalities are all about. So yeah, that's pretty much it with generative AI. I know it's a really really high level intro. I also had found it hard thinking about how to go about this morning, but please let me know if you have any question on essentially what I've said so far. I know it might be too basic, so I'd be happy to sort of and jump into that. So yeah, for Gemini, I know we've been hearing a lot about Gemini. The hosts made an introduction earlier about it, and Gemini models are sort of built from ground up for multimodality. So it helps with what we call reasoning across text, like I said, images, videos, audio, and code. Right, these days you can pass your code to ChatGPT, to Google Gemini to review, and it gives you a really thorough review of your code. So maybe we don't need senior engineers anymore to tell us, hey, your code sucks. We cannot get that from a machine. I don't know, probably. Yeah, so I'm really, really excited about this. So I think I have a question here. AI model, AI images making waves, what are tools used to generate them? Oh yeah, so the obvious one, Gemini can generate images. There are lots of tools out there that can do that. ChatGPT can help you generate, which is powered by DALL-E 3. Yeah, I think there are pretty much other tools that are there. I don't have. I use very specific tools for things, but you can use Gemini to generate it, and we're going to be showing this earlier later on. But also, you can also use like ChatGPT to generate images. There are tools that are specific to this. Midjourney is one critical example. I don't know why I missed that. And then there are also ones to generate videos, like even the upcoming Sora and then Mora. I wrote about Mora on my. You could check like anchor.com/blog. You sort of see really what's good about Mora, which is the open source version of Sora. So yeah, too many tools to sort of pick out there. But yeah, Gemini. We're talking about Gemini here, so Gemini can help you generate images. So yeah, today there are 3 Gemini model sizes, right? So you have the Ultra, which is like the most capable and largest model for very complex tasks. You have Pro, and as you can see, right, these vary in sizes, right? These vary in sizes, and this is one thing that you should know as well, that the Ultra is the largest model. We don't know how many parameters or what the data sets, the amount of data sets that it was trained on, but we know that it's going to be very, very large, right? Look at how insanely large it is, and then the parameters as well, probably. And then the Pro is smaller than the Ultra, and then it's best for like scaling across a wide range of tasks. And then the Nano is the one that can run on mobile devices. I think Nano, if you're using Samsung, the latest Samsung phones, and latest Samsung phones, and then the Google Pixel phones, Nano is probably running under the hood on some of these phones, like the Google 8 Pixel, Google 9 Pixel, which is going to be coming out pretty soon, if I'm not mistaken. Nano, Gemini Nano is already running there. So if you're an AI dev, you can actually use, you can check out this. I'm going to post something in the chat. So you can check out that for, how to use Nano 4 on your mobile devices, which I think is pretty nice. If you know that you are in a region, for example, we're in a region where internet problem is an issue, right? How can you still provide access to AI? And that's where Nano can actually come in, because it can fit on most of your own device or edge devices to sort of work. So if you're an Android developer, you should check that out. Oh yeah, so there are also there's also Gemma. Gemma is the Google's open models, and they are built. They're sort of like Gemini is what we call the closed source model. So essentially, you don't have the code and the model out there. But with Gemma, it actually it was interesting that this is something that Google actually open sourced. So if you go to ai.google.dev and /Gemma, you'd be able to see like the Hugging Face, the link to the Hugging Face model, or you just go on Hugging Face and search for Gemma, and search for like Google. You'd be able to see these things there. If you're looking at playing around with Gemma, so yes, Gemma is actually multimodal. Right, Gemma is multimodal. Yes. Please, what is the way to integrate into an application from a backend developer point of view? Okay, yes. So from a backend developer point of view, it's mostly going to be API, right? You're mostly going to use your API, and I'm just going to share a link quickly, and we're going to get into the API and the SDK. Yeah, so it's pretty much through like the API. I mean, I'm going to be showing you examples soon of how to sort of use Gemini quickly through AI, the AI Studio itself. But I'm going to be showing you the ways as well that you can use it as a developer in the next slide, which sort of bring us to the next slide here. Okay. So these are the 3 ways that we can interact with Gemini. And pretty much the same thing for most models that are out there. Right. So for Gemini, we have like the consumers. So these are like through the web app. So you go to like bard.google.com. Is it bard.google.com these days, or gemini.google.com? Oh, okay. It's gemini.google.com. So if you go to gemini.google.com, you'd be able to use this from your application, just like you're able to sort of use what's it called? You're able to use ChatGPT from your web app or through the application. Right. So for developers, this is also access to APIs. So you can use the Gemini API, like Chibuzo mentioned. Like I mentioned to Chibuzo, if you're a backend developer, you can just call an API, and then you find it. We just follow the proper structured formats, the JSON and all of those to validate like the structure and schema and all this type of stuff. So I'm going to be sharing those cookbooks here. And then there's also for business and enterprise. So if you're running an enterprise-based organization, into like, how can you integrate Gemini into all your information systems, your knowledge architecture, and all of those type of stuff. It helps. I'm just gonna speed through this quickly. Yeah, so in this call, in this particular call, over the rest of over the next 10 to 15 minutes, we're just going to be focusing on the access to APIs, which is like for developers. So if you're interested in consumers, just go to gemini.google.com and then just like play around with it. It's really nice. Probably good to. I think Google has like a 3-month free trial for Gemini. You could also try that as well to see like the advanced capabilities. Yeah, so let's go ahead with getting started with Gemini API. So essentially, the best way to sort of get in touch, and this is like if you want to sort of use the API, is through AI Studio. So aistudio.google.com. So essentially, what you do is you like generate your API keys, you create tests and save prompts, customize models and minutes and stuff. We're just gonna breeze through that briefly. So that we can just we can go through like getting started here. I can share the cookbook. So for us that are devs, maybe we're working on interesting stuff as devs. I'm just going to share some of these links briefly, so you can check out the cookbook for the project, and then we can. I'm just trying to see how to share my screen. You can just go through setting up like on Google AI Studio quickly. Give me a second. Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm on the right tab. Okay, so if you're not very familiar with Google AI Studio, I'm just going to share the link here so that you can go through it. But if you're a developer, maybe you're already familiar with it, please check out that cookbook. It has really interesting tools and practices that you can use. But if you're just getting started with it, go to aistudio.google.com. If you're probably there and this is your first time, just created this for like first time purposes. So this is your first time. You can start. You're probably going to be met with this particular what's it called dialog box. So you can either develop your own environments, like cheapest, like I mentioned. You can get an API key and try to work with an API key, or just use stuff in the studio directly. So Google AI Studio itself. All right. So there are three. Like I said, look at the different modalities here. So you have an image, right? You have the video, you have the audio, and then you have the text, right? These are the different modalities. Shows you that this is actually a multimodal model. If it only had one modality, okay, just making sure I'm on the right chat. Yeah, if it only has one modality, right, you would probably only be seeing file here. But now it has like 4 modalities, showing you that it has multimodal capabilities there. So yeah, so we can type in something, and you can say, hey, what is generative AI? And then it's sort of able to sort of give this back to us, right? And it's crazy how detailed that it sort of gets with some of these things. So we've probably used this sort of thing before with what's it called, with ChatGPT. Yeah, so like that. So if you're not sort of comfortable with using it directly with Studio, like I mentioned, you can just click on get an API key. No worries, I can just get this out of here. Make sure to look at the pricing, because usually these types of models are usually not free. So you sort of click on create the API key. So get your API key here, and then so it's create for a new project. So it helps you generate the API key, and please find a way to keep this API key in a safe space, because it's going to be a secret that you use to sort of connect to multi-gen AI. I'm going to delete this later because I know this is going recorded. Well, essentially that's how you sort of get the API key for using Gemini in your application. So I don't know if we can share the slides later on. Philip, let me know. I could sort of look at sharing the slides, or if it's strictly confidential. Ideally, once you go to AI Studio and create that API key, I'm just going to click on like the Quick Start Python option. So yeah, I forgot to mention as well that you can develop in Python, but also with API, with the Studio Code. Let me just go back to code. With Studio, you can sort of develop like in what's it called, an AI Studio, and then once you click on Get Code, whatever you do here would be able to you'll be able to sort of get the code in JavaScript, Python, or in Kotlin. So you shouldn't sort of worry about whether you can just experiment here, and then once you've gotten your final results, just click on Get Code. I'm not going to spend too much time here because I know that we have another speaker on the horizon. Yeah, so like I mentioned, click on Get API Key if that's what you're sort of familiar with, and also I'm going to talk about the model, the temperature, and all this type of stuff quickly later on. But yeah, just to make sure I'm on the right tab. Like I said, if there's anything at all, yeah. So like I said, Gemini API is a REST API, so that's essentially the standard. Yeah, you can call it directly or using any one of the like user-friendly client libraries like Python, JavaScript, Swift, Java, Go, and even Flutter, right? If you sort of stuff like that. But in this presentation, we're just going to be seeing snippets of like how we use Python SDK. As you know, Python is like the most popular language for AI development. So it's been for a really long time now. So yeah, but I mean, you should be able to sort of understand how to port these things to your own or use the code in Google AI Studio to port these things to your application. So the other way that we can interact with Gemini is through Vertex AI. So if you develop on Google Cloud, you should probably have an understanding. If you've been on Google Cloud for a really long time now, it used to be called AI Platform, and then it was changed to like Vertex AI. And then it's like an end-to-end AI platform, pretty much has different components for developing AI applications. So you should also check out Vertex. That's not going to be a core focus, but I think if you RSVP'd for this event, you probably were given like access to Cloud Skills Boost, and that you should be able to take some of the labs there that uses Vertex AI, Gemini in Vertex AI. Yeah, so what are some of the usage patterns for Gemini? So essentially, it's like any other language model, right? So you have like the basic prompting. So you go from prompting, which is like writing basic prompt for your application. I think I can remember giving an event like this in, I think was it in 2019, and how I wasn't saying how I told software develop. I think it was in Port Harcourt as well. Yeah, so it was an event in Port Harcourt in 2019, and it was all about how people could take 10,000 lines of code they used to write before, and then you're just writing like 300 lines of code these days, and then you're getting the same results that you would usually write with 10,000 lines of code. That's massive. That's insane. And that was like 2019. Imagine how much progress that we've made in 2024 here. So it's really exciting what you can just do with like natural language basic prompt. Use that to generate code. Use that to generate like different things that you can plug into your application. So yeah, we have basic prompting. So this is like the best place to start. Simple text prompts. We hear these days prompt engineering. That's a lot of how can you manipulate manipulate the LLM to sort of get what you're trying to say through natural language. So it's just a bunch of sophisticated text prompting. So yeah, for the first one could be like, very simple. We say write like a poem about a magic backpack. Sort of give us something like this, and the model will just give you like a poem with many verses, rhyming, and then it's just gonna go there. You can try this out yourself. I'll just save our time so that I don't sort of try this out. So same thing, you can let it know even more a bit more complex, like generate a short tip about JavaScript. Good tips are short, meaning you're giving it a bit of a guidance. You're giving out instruction. This is what we call instruction prompting. You're giving it some extra guidance on what it should do. So you could easily just say, generate a short tip about JavaScript. But now you're giving it an instruction that, hey, good tips are short and contain a code example showing the tip. So it goes on to say, hey, tip use array, blah, 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 to flatten arrays, and then gives a sample code as well. That's really nice. If you didn't give that instruction, it could generate a broad of pretty much anything, but you're tailoring the answer it gives. One issue with this kind of prompt is that when you always use the same prompt, you're going to see like repeated outputs very quickly because it generates a lot of what we call, it has probability, right? It generates more random, like different responses every single time. You've probably seen that with ChatGPT, where you sort of, it generates one response and then you can use a retry to generate more responses. And so and sometimes you might need some diversity and creative, but sometimes you also need some determinism, and that's what code is all about, right? As a software developer, you don't want that your users you do one thing today and then your app your app sort of does another. Your app does one thing today and then it does another thing today. Users need consistency. They need to be able to understand that if they click a button or if they enter an input, they will always get the same output all the time, right? So that's one of the things you need as a developer. You don't want the thing to be generating different things all the time. You need determinism, and I'm going to be showing you how to sort of set that later on. Yeah, so as you can see, just building on what we shared earlier, you said, hey, generate a short tip about JavaScript. Good tips are short, still the same instruction, but we've taken this a bit further, right? We've added what we call an example, right? And this is one of the things we do as humans, is that we learn better when there's an example for us to learn off from. I could remember in primary school, I would really, really hate that I can't go through an example, right? If a teacher teaches me something and doesn't give me an example, it leaves me really wondering. I could go anything, I could go any length or go different directions with the answers I want to come up with. But when the teacher says, hey, do this, this is an example, it tailors my mind to understand, okay, this is what this particular teacher sort of needs from me. The same thing with LLMs, right? You give them an example and say, hey, this is the topic, and this is the tip, EJ and stuff like that. And then you give it an example. So this is just one example. And this type of prompting is called few shot prompting. The initial prompting of giving it tip is called instruction. And then this one is like giving it one example, which is called like one shot prompting, either called few shot or one shot. If you're into the computer vision field, this was like derived from computer vision at that time, where we had few shot examples, zero shot learning, few shot learning, contrastive loss, and stuff like that. And that's like for people like in computer vision space. So this was sort of adapted in this sense, like few shot, we have one shot example. If you give it two examples, it's called two shots, three shots, and all that type of until you get to n shots prompt. So yeah, we leave the prompt hanging at the end so that the model will be able to know, okay, this is what I want to complete. I want the topic. I need to give the topic. I need to give the tip, which is the topic. The tip I need to generate on the topic is the arrow syntax. So you've given it one example, which is let and const, and then you're saying, hey, here's what I want. Give me the topic, arrow syntax, and then generate the tip, right? And then it just follows that example and gives that to you. So yeah. So this is how it sort of looks in AI Studio, right? Where it's called a structured prompt. So that's sort of one thing you get to look at when you look at the cookbook as well. You get to see some of these things. So here's the basic like text interface in Python, as well as like the .text. You can dig into like other things, but essentially, if you want to sort of play around with this with your just start a new Python script, a new .py script, import, obviously, like install some of these things, like install the necessary dependencies, like the generative AI stuff, but import Google, use the proper lines, then select the model. So if we go back to what's it called, AI Studio, you can see here that there are different types of models. So you have like the Gen 1.0, which is the Pro, which I mentioned to you. I showed you at that time that Pro is different from Ultra. Ultra has not been released yet. I think it's going to be released pretty soon, but the Pro is a lot smaller than Ultra. So you have 1.5 Pro and 1.0. If you want to understand 1.5, I think I have an interesting explainer article when it came out on 1.5 Pro. Let me see if I can just share that. Okay, so I'll probably share that later. So, but there's 1.5 Pro, so you can sort of select that. So if you come back to the let's see here, you can be able to select, oh, this is the Gemini Pro. So it just automatically uses the one that's available in that sense. So I'm just gonna call this back quickly. Okay, so you can see here you're telling the model to generate content. So you're passing in the prompts, which is write the first paragraph of a story about a magic bag, and then it just sort of prints the responses as .txt. If you're familiar with Python, you sort of understand sort of these things. And okay. So the other thing as well, that you can actually start chat. And one thing with Gemini is that Gemini does not Gemini is stateless. When I mean stateless, is it doesn't really save the context of your conversation and stuff like that. But with what we call the chat interface, what chat interface does for you, it saves the conversational state of the chat. So chat has a conversational state, obviously. If you're asking ChatGPT, for example, what's my name, what's the name of, Galileo, what did Galileo do in the 19th century, how did he discover like the moon, like how did he like use the, what's it called, no, Galileo didn't discover the moon, but you get what I mean, right? So who discovered the moon, who went to the moon and stuff like that. And then you're asking follow-up questions. So that's what chat is all about. When you chat with your friend, right, there's always a sequence that follows. You don't just chat about one thing and then you go into another thing and stuff, but you chat about sequence of things. And that's what we call conversational state, right? And when you launch .stat, when you have like model.stat chat, it helps you save the conversational state on in your local environment. So if you're making like raw API calls, you need to manage, this in your environment itself. So but with SDKs, which is like this one here, that's why it's really important as well that you choose between, does it make sense to just use the API, which is stateless, versus the SDKs, which can sort of which you can sort of use the chat interface to save the state of your chat here. So as you can see here, it said, hey, hello, what should I have for dinner? Ordinarily with an API call, that's just one call. It doesn't really remember when you make another call. It doesn't remember whatever you said initially. But now, yeah, you're able to have this follow up with how do I cook the first one? Meaning, it's able to sort of save conversations sequentially. Yeah, so that's pretty much, and it obviously has benefits, right? Sometimes you don't want your API to be stateful, right? You want it to be stateless if you start developing that, so that you can save and resume conversations, and even edit history if you want to. So anyway, so yeah, so essentially this is the type of request you're generating. So you're at the high level, you're like generating like the content of the role, that's the user, and then you're having like so essentially what it does is you send the first the prompt, which is you, and then Gemini responds, and then you're able to send a follow-up, and that's just what it does. So it's able to save that content, it's able to save your request based in the SDK. And the other one you have is like the tool specified by the user. So all these things are things that happen under the hood. You don't have to take care of this. The first one is what you have to take care of, right? But not the sort of ones below. But as you can see in the last aspect here, I just have to make sure that's and please let me know if let me know my time as well, so that I don't sort of cross. I know it's a lot of time. So you can see the aspect here. You're having like temperature, top K, top P, top K, stop sequence, and maximum token, right? With temperature, what you're trying to do is, as a developer, you don't want, like I said, you don't want to generate random things all the time, right? You want to generate something that's also a bit more deterministic. So temperature controls what's like the creativity, how the creativity and randomness of the AI model, right? So lower temperature means like you're generating a more deterministic model, which might be good for you as a software engineer, but also depending on your application as well, you might want to have higher varied answers of the model. So for instance, if at a temperature of 0, your model might constantly generate the phrase, oh, the sky is blue, right? But as you increase the temperature, your model might be more sophisticated, meaning the sky is falling and the sky is varied with stars, the sky is filled with stars, the sky also contains the moon. It generates more longer responses, more varied answers, rather than saying just the sky is blue, right? Which is just a very predictable, deterministic sense. Then you still have like top K. So top K, what it does is that it focuses on a few, it sort of limits the number of words that the AI can sort of choose. So I don't know if you guys sort of remember, if you've worked with like, what's it called? Traditional models, there's what we call bag of words, right? With the top K model, what you're trying to do with the bag of words is that you're limiting the size of the bag that the model is able to pick different words from, right? But with a higher K model, you sort of increase the bag as well. Same thing with the top P, selects the word based on how much probability and stuff like that. But obviously, as you get into it, I don't want to get into this too much. I have a few slides to go. Joy.
Okay, yeah, so it's not particularly related to this, but I just wanted to say you have like 5 more minutes
Oh yeah,
to
no
act.
worries. I'm seeing my time as well. I just crossed the 1 hour mark. I think I was given about 1 hour 10 minutes. All right. Okay. So yeah, that's fine. Yeah, for the stop sequence, it uses like the stop words and all the stuff. I don't really want to get into this because I know we are mostly beginners, so we sort of learn this along the way. But if you look at the Gemini Studio, this is something that you might want to sort of look into. So you have like 1 million tokens. That's the number of words, or number of tokens, number of words essentially that token is like words. So number of words, I guess, that it can take. So the temperature is like I said, temperature of 0. Look at temperature of 0, for example, the model would always generate something deterministic. Temperature of 1, get a varied responses. So if I say, for example, at the temperature of 0, what's the color of the sky? Blue, right? So if I increase the variety and I say the same thing, what's the color of the sky? Blue. Okay, fair enough. Okay, that's interesting. Tell me about the sky. And I use the temperature of 1. Right, and if I increase that temperature and ask it to, maybe I open a new chat. So if I increase that temperature, put it in 1 currently, and ask it for, so it's able to generate a more varied and coherent response compared to, oh yeah, I think I deleted that. Now, if you see the last chart, this is able to generate something longer, something more varied and stuff like that compared to something that was initially simple when we had like the temperature set at 0. So that's also one of the things you got for. I don't want to sort of go into some of these things right now, but yeah, you can see the responses that it gets you, like the content. It also gets you like safety ratings and stuff like that. You probably learn those along the way. What else? So yeah, so one of the other things you should look out for as well is when dealing with like complex applications, you need to do what is called chaining prompts. So with chain prompting, you're trying to link different prompts together. So if you're combining like different prompts to sort of achieve a complex task, allowing one prompt to follow up the other one. So for example, if you're building an e-commerce chatbot, you might want to answer like a customer question about the product, and then you might want to ask the LLM to collect an order from the customer once they've asked the question, and then finally taking delivery instructions to complete the order. So that's essentially, there are links to the different prompts as well. It's like answer the question, collect the order, and then have a prompt that collect delivery instructions, right? So you might want to give it, like I said, with future prompts, you might want to give it an example of what a question and response template looks like, how to sort of place an order, sort of how to receive an order, how to collect an order, as well as how to sort of confirm delivery instructions and stuff like that. So yeah, with code generation, generate a code based on a user prompt. It converts the human language request to machine requests, and then helps with like rapid tool building. So sometimes you might want to port like code from Python to Node and stuff like that. I've seen friends who have been using it to, although it still has a lot of bugs right now, but some people actually use it to convert port code from one language to another, or obviously the thing you use now with Copilot, autocomplete and stuff like that. So yeah, that's really crucial. Like I mentioned earlier, it can help you generate like data based on just natural language or SQL query, as the case may be. So we can ask the model to generate data for us, and then as you can see here, it has like 3 columns, and then it has country, capital, continent, and then can also help you generate like the SQL query to query that particular table. Say generate a SQL query that will help blah blah blah, and then so all that type of stuff. So yeah, I'm just gonna breeze through this. Don't have enough time. Okay, so you can also like help like write with unit tests. You probably sort of know some of this already, and yeah. So one of the other thing I just wanted to mention in the next 30 seconds into a minute is bringing your own data set. So sometimes Gemini might not be able to do, if you're building an app, for example, Gemini might not be able to get all the context that you're looking out for. If it doesn't really work well, just based on how you're using it from AI Studio or from the API and stuff like that, how can you ensure that it works well on your own use case? And that's where bringing your own data comes in. And the intro talked about retrieval augmented like generative networks or RAG models and stuff like that. Sometimes these models can have like these Gemini models, has like cutoff points with the date. With GPT-4 was trained like up until 2021, 2022, something, right? So some of these things are not like hallucinate a lot. So how do you ensure that it hallucinates less? And that's where bringing your own data comes in. And the simplest way really is that you give it instructions, you give it context, and you give it all the questions in one prompt, which you've already done before. We've given it instructions, given it examples and stuff like that to get the context, no extra code and stuff like that. Yeah. As you can see here, please follow and please answer based on the following documents and stuff like that. And then you provided the documents, right? That's one of the ways you can do it. The other way you can do it as well is that you can use the prompt context window. So the content, like I said, context window can go up to like 1 million. Usually you have 30,000 tokens, which is 1.1.0 Pro. As you can, I think you probably saw in the AI Studio, that means it can only take in maybe like one textbook, right? But if when it comes to Gemini 1.5 Pro, this can take up to millions of textbooks. Not maybe not millions, but like rather than taking one textbook, it can actually take 10 textbooks. It can actually, rather than taking one script, it can actually handle one entire code base to do stuff. So I think that's a crucial thing. And this is from Jeff Dean that talked about the fact that it can actually find answers in like large textbooks, an entire library, in fact, of textbooks. So yeah, that's a crucial aspect. So you can join the waitlist for Gemini 1.5 Pro. I think you cannot play with the temperature right now, but the other thing. So yeah, image understanding. These are some of the other things as well. Check out AI Studio. Like I mentioned, you can come into AI Studio, create a new prompt. You can just come in, like pass in your image. It can help you generate. You can help you like provide like describe images and stuff like that. You can come in here and play with it just like you would even with understand. And then Hugging Face Spaces, right? So if you're looking for another way to play with stuff, you can come to Hugging Face Spaces, pass in an image, and then just telling, okay, describe this image. I did this earlier, and it's able to describe all the images here. So those are the two ways you can essentially play with Gemini. So either Hugging Face Spaces or AI Studio UI or SDK or API. So these are some of the other things that you can do. Images are just tokens, since things I'll just go through. But yeah, I think that's pretty much that. The other thing is just tuning. If the model is not doing pretty well, you can also import your own data sets, and then it's able to learn your data sets, right? That's one of the things that tuning can do. So you can come in here, you can click on tune model, you can actually import your data set here, and then it's able to learn from your data sets, from Google Cloud or from Google Drive, or how to do better on your models. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I wouldn't sort of go into these again, but yeah, responsible AI, you can actually use AI Studio to block toxic content and give it this range of like what toxicity that it can tolerate. So yeah, thank you so much. It's a lot to really go through. Obviously, I can't go through this in like 1 hour, but I really hope that it's sort of gotten you excited and introduced to the world of Gen AI. So if you have any question, feedback, please let me know. Happy to take them. Hello, anyone? Can a model be tuned in AI Studio and be made available via the endpoints? Oh no, yes, you can. You can tune a model in AI Studio and then make it available through your endpoints, right? If you go to the models, like whatever model you tune, you just give it like a name, give it a version, and then you're able to call it just like you would call like the default base models in AI Studio. So AI is really broad. How can one get started? So ideally, I mean, if you're with AI, if you're already in a particular space, right? Maybe you're in, if you're already a software developer, just like sort of Chibuzo mentioned, one way to get started with it is just to use that the API. Get started with the API, learn the base. Obviously, learn along the way by building projects. Try to integrate it first. Use the quick start examples to get started if you're already a software developer. But if you're not, I mean, if you're in the healthcare sector, I've seen like I talked to, we have like healthcare customers at Harcourt, and I talked to them. I was like, hey, I only got started with it when I tried, like I passed in like an example of an X-ray scan, and obviously privacy is also important, so don't pass like patient data to ChatGPT. But he said, hey, I passed in an example of a scan, and then AI was able to tell me what is wrong with the scan and stuff like that. That's one way a doctor got started with the whole AI thing, right? So it really depends on levels. Do you want to be a consumer? Like mentioned, like I showed in the tab earlier, do you want to be a consumer? Do you want to be a developer, or are you a bit sort of leveraging AI? So once you can really understand where you are in this particular space, whether you want to be a user, whether you're a consumer, whether you're a consumer, whether you're a developer, or whether you're a business. I think you'll be able to understand sort of where you need to sort of start using it from. So if you're a consumer, just use like ChatGPT, right? Use like Gemini, AI Studio, and stuff, just like we've shown. If you're a developer, use the API SDK. If you're a business, you understand how to bring it into your integrate the system into your business. Let me know if that answers the question. So, but essentially, look at where you are. What are you in fashion? Are you in stuff? And determine do you want to start and determine if you want to just start using AI from there. Sometimes it could be fashion, for example. AI could help tell, okay, how can you make this cloth better? And then it provides suggestion. That's actually one way to use it. All right. Okay. So it can be called from an external. Yes, it definitely can be called from an external application. Isn't the model saved within? No, no, you don't have to be associated with Google Cloud unless you're using things on Vertex. Unless you're using like Gemini from Vertex, right? You don't have to have anything associated with. You don't have to associate it with the system. It doesn't have anything to do with cloud. That's why AI Studio is pretty much separate from Google Cloud, right? With AI Studio, you can manage all the models, the new models you have, and all the stuff there. You can manage context and history and all those things from there. But then if you're using Gemini from Google Cloud, you might have to associate it with a project within Google Cloud. But essentially, you're using it on Vertex, so you must have already had a project on Vertex running before you can actually launch Gemini there. So either way, they are mutually exclusive. Can I make? I don't know. That has to be a question for Philip. So maybe if Philip can answer that, that'll be good. Any other question? I want to go exercise. So any other question? I assume they are none, right? Hosts, please let me know what I should do next.
Okay. Thank you so much, Stephen. That was a whole lot. And yes, it was a great session. I agree with Triumph. Okay, someone is asking, aside the slides, are there any recommended
Oh
resources
yes,
to
I
get?
shared those. Like, please check the chat. I shared like a bunch of. I don't know if the host can sort of collate some of the things I shared on the chat. I shared like a cookbook, where to get started, the quick stats, especially the cookbook. I think you just check out the cookbook, right? It has a lot of really interesting tips, essentially how to get started, tips and all of that to sort of work with Gemini and generally just start interacting with AI from a developer standpoint. I'm assuming you're asking how to get started with Gemini, anyways, not AI.
Okay, thank you. So this, if your areas repeat for this event, we're going to send all these resources to your email as well, so you can easily access it. And yes, Florence drops that on the WhatsApp group. So if you've not joined the WhatsApp group, you can join now. The link is pinned on the chat, so you can join the WhatsApp group. And once again, thank you so much, Stephen. Please let's drop our comments. Thank you, Stephen, for this session. While we move ahead to the next session. So yeah, Stephen, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, and just one more thing with the context. I think somebody asked a question about multimodality with Gemma. It's actually text to text for now, although there are plans to support multimodality. I think that was Joy. So with Gemma, it's only text to text for now. So that's a correction to that. But I did see somewhere that the team is planning to open source the multimodal aspects for Gemma. So if you're looking at that, you might want to keep an eye on the Hugging Face repository for that. Joy. Sorry for misleading you there. Then I just thought it was already open. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Stephen. Once again, just give me a minute. Okay, so it's quiz time. Before we move ahead to have Moses speak, we're going to take just two quizzes. And for the last quiz, anyone that gets this is going to just get a small incentive from us. Very, very small thing from us, yeah. So let's just move ahead. I hope we're still in high spirit. Yeah, you can drop your comments. Thank you, Steven. That was amazing. Um Okay, for the first quiz. For the first quiz, when is National Techies Day celebrated every year? Drop your comments in the chat session. The first to comment the correct answer wins. When is National Techies Day celebrated every year? What techies? We should know this. Okay, I'm saying October 5th. October 5th twice. I'm still waiting. I need more responses, please. I hope I'm not browsing this out. More responses, please. Another person, October 5th, October 5th, October 3rd, October 5th. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting. First person to get this correctly wins. Let's see. We have 1 more minute. Anybody? 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 Hmm. Okay, so when is National Techies Day celebrated every year? The person that got the question is Ikechuku. Oh, I'm going to murder your surname. I'm so sorry. Uguwani. Oh God, I hope I got that right. October 3rd is National Techies Day and it's being celebrated every year. So yeah, congratulations to Ikechuku. Yeah, thank you for answering that correctly. So it's October 3rd. That's when we celebrate National Techies Day. If you're a techie, you should have this in mind and look forward to October 3rd. Yeah. And then for the second question, what did the AI okay, no, sorry, why did the AI go to therapy? We just spoke about AI. If you can, this requires critical thinking, but not so much of that of critical thinking. We talked about five senses, right? And we talked about how this connects to humans. So why did the AI go to therapy? I need answers. Because it's brought to understand. Okay, improvement to stop hallucinating. Okay, let's see. Whoever gets this stuff is getting a small incentive from us. Why did the AI go to therapy? I need more answers to learn new insights for better understanding. Okay, more answers to help the victim. And so, Abiola, please, what do you mean by to help the victims? More answers, more answers. Let's see who gets to win this. Who gets to win this? Any other person wants to try? If I go ahead and say the answer, I probably who won it. Okay, so let me see. Let me read out what I have here. It's just a very small. I don't know. Probably I'm looking for the term. So come on, let's use technical terms. Well, you guys should try. Just 1 more minute. Someone should just use a technical term. There's one term to use to describe it, and then you just get it. Just try to reflect on the networks we have. Okay, someone said, this is a lot. Okay, because he had too many processing issues to help victims, to enhance his performance and address any malfunctions or errors, conscious identity crisis, to learn about diseases and diagnosis, improvements from sounding like machine and more like humans, to better understand emotions, to process its complex algorithms, and to debug its emotional code to improve in its underlying model. Because it's because the AI becomes the therapist. So Abiola, please, to eliminate biases, to minimize its hallucinations, to process its emotions, to become responsible, to feel human, to be intelligent, because sorry, human emotions, to improve its attention, to process its stress. Okay, I think I just got someone that is close to the answer, and I think I'm going to just, have the person win this. So, why did AI go to therapy? AI went to therapy because he had too many neural network issues. Too many neural network issues. And then, the neural network issue is just a play of words. And it just simply implies that, the neural network is. There's one is requesting to speak. Sorry, I can't approve you to speak. Please just drop it in the comment box. So, what was I saying? Yeah. Neural network issues, it just simply implies, neural network is the part of programming responsible for processing information, and the AI was malfunctioning or causing problems. And someone that got that closely is, sorry, this is a whole lot for me to scroll. For me to scroll. Let me see. Toluwani. Toluwani Omojuni Kambi. Jesus. I hope I didn't kill your surname. But Toluwani got that right in a way, to enhance its performance and address any malfunctions or errors. So that's why AI went to therapy. So Toluwani, you're going to be winning just a very small incentive of 5,000 naira. If you're in the group chat, please just send me a quick message. Yes, just send me a quick message on WhatsApp if you're in the WhatsApp group chat. My name is Bluff, BLAVC. You see it there. I'm one of the admins. So just send me a message and tell me your name, and also send me your um, bank details, your account details, and then I'll send the cash to you. So thank you so much for everyone for playing this little game. I guess yeah, we'll move on to the next session. And now we all know why AI goes to therapy. Also to improve, but this was all I was just looking for, to solve problems and to provide solution. Yeah. Congratulations to Luwani. So yeah, we'll be moving on to the next speaker, Mr. Moses, and he'll be taking us on Gemini 101, which is the build with AI. So we're going into details about how to build with AI. We're going to learn best practices for creating AI demos that are both deeply engaging, and we'll have you learning about products in an easy and fun way. So let's get right into it. Mr. Moses, are you here? I'll stop sharing my screen so you can share yours. Okay? Your voice is a bit low. I don't know if it's just me. Caleb, can you hear Moses? Because I can't.
I can't hear him. I can't hear him. Mr. Moses, we can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear?
Yeah, please just.
Yeah,
Is it
your
better now?
voice is low.
Yeah.
I can't hear anything. Okay. So Mr. Moses said to give him a second and he'll join us. So while we wait, I don't know. Do you guys want to play another game while we wait for Mr. Moses to get settled? If you want to, you can say yes or no. Okay, I've gotten one yes. Maybe there's another gift on the way. Who knows? You said yes to more gifts. Mr. Caleb, do you have more gifts to give them? Or should I rest? Okay, let's see. I'm looking for the best question to ask. David, okay. So let's just take one more question. I hope somebody gets this. Okay, just give me a minute. Let me pull it up. Okay. Okay, so another one. What do you call a robot who likes to take naps? What do you call a robot who likes to take naps? This time around, anybody that used the correct word like this is just getting something. What do you call a robot who loves to take naps? Okay, let me pull it up on the screen so we can see it. I hope I'm not browsing this, so please. Okay, let me pull it up. What do you call a robot who likes to take naps? Who is getting that? Who is getting that? Let me go back. Yeah. So, what do you call a robot who loves to take nap? Someone is close. Someone is close. Someone is close. Someone is close. Let's see. Did someone just say Snapchat? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Starts with an S, ends with a T. Yes, if nobody won't win this one. Starts with an S. Starts with an S. Has an E in it, and before it ends with a T. Sleep GPT. Oh Jesus, no. Snapboot, no. You see this person that says Snapboot. If you can change your snap to something else. Oh, okay. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Naptron, no. Napboot, no. One more minute. One more minute. One more minute. One more minute. Nap GPT. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Slipper boots. Oh, what's sleep boots? Snap AI. My God. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We have 30 seconds left. Okay, time up. So, what do you call a robot who loves to take naps? It's called snooze bot. It's snooze bot. And the person that got that is Zainab Ojo. I got that. Yes. Zainab Ojo. She got it. It's snooze bot. So, yeah. That's what you call a robot who loves to take nap. A snooze bot. So yeah, congratulations, Zainab. Congratulations, Zainab. You just you just won. Okay, the first person was 5K, right? Yeah, so 3,000 naira. Yeah. So also do the same thing. Just send me a message and your name, your account details, and then you get your incentive. It's just really small. But yeah. Mr. Moses, are you on now? I still can hear you if you're speaking. Uh, Mr. Dolph, are you here? I can't hear. Mr. Dolph, are you here? Can anyone hear me? Let's not be like it's just me. Okay. Someone is asking any prize for the first question. No, there wasn't any prize. I'm so sorry. We've given out 8K, right? Okay. Except you guys want to play another one. If nobody gets this third one, maybe the prize can just go to Ikechuku for the first question. I think it was on like was it yes. So do you guys want to play? This time around is going to be for 2K. Anybody? Okay. Tolu. No, if you won before, please, you're not winning again. If you won before, you're not winning again. Urgent 2K, yes, for the weekend. Maybe you go in and shalaye. No problem. Okay, let me look for a question. I have to make some difficult because Jesus. Let me look for one. Okay. Who's ready? Let's go. I ask this one now. If I ask this one, everybody will just get it. Do we have data analysts in the house? Do we have anybody into here? If you're into data, please just drop yes. Should I make you random? Okay, we have data analysts here. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to ask this one. This one is the first person that gets it because I feel like this is very simple and everybody's going to get it. So let me pull it up so we can see it while we wait for Moses to be on. Okay. So the next question is why did the AI become a stand-up comedian? Why did the AI become a stand-up comedian? Anybody. This is very easy. Very, very easy. Ikechukwu, you can try. So they will not take your money, you know. Because I wasn't sure of the answer. Hmm. Let's see. More. Nobody's willing to try. Why did the AI become a stand-up comedian? It's very easy. Especially if you're a programmer, you just get it like one hand. It's not boring. The data that was fed. Okay, why? Okay, just a hint. Just a hint. If you're a programmer and you have some issues with your code, what do you do? And then if you get what you do, you can then attach it to why it became a stand-up comedian. Let's see who gets it. If you have an error in your code, what do you do to fix that error? To get what do you do to fix that error? Uh-huh. What I feel like I'm giving you guys so much clue. What do you do to fix that error? And then when you fix the error, attach it to why the AI became a stand-up comedian, or why it became why it became a stand-up comedian. Let's see who will get this. Who will get this? No, who will get this? Mr. Moses, please on your back. Please just you can speak so I can hear you. Or drop it in the comment section as well. Thank you. Why did the AI become a stand-up comedian? Okay, I'm saying to debug. To debug what? To debug what? To debug what? A a a a a no no. Have 1 more minute, and this money will just fly back to Ikechukwu's hands. 1 more minute, 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 1 more minute. Oh, I feel like you guys should get the. I don't want to say this thing. If I say it, you guys will just get it. It's very easy. Like why do you become like why you stand up comedian? If you're stand up, no, I just keep quiet. Okay, and we're done. We are done. So let's see. Let me go through this. Wasn't sure of the answer. No. To be boring. No. The data set. No. You want to make people happy? No. Wrong data set. No. List to function. No. Bugs. I always provide. Mm, no. 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 Someone is. Okay. Okay. I got a DM from Chrissy. No, that's not it. The answer is because it wanted to debug some jokes. You're a comedian, you crack jokes. And I said, if you're a programmer, you what do you do when you have an error? So you debug. So it wanted to debug some jokes. So the person that got that was and I saw the person. I saw the person. Jesus. I see the message? The messages are too much. Oh, someone pointed me to that. Yes, Emmanuel. Emmanuel I. Yeah. You got that correctly. Debug the joke. Even though it was a little bit shaky, but yeah, debug the joke. So just so Ikechukwu can also get something, I'm going to split this. So you're going to get 1,000 and Ikechukwu is going to get 1,000 as well. Fair? Yes. So both of you can send me a DM as well on WhatsApp with your name and account number, and then you get your little incentive from us. So yeah. Um it was a nice one. It was nice doing this with you guys. So I hope Emmanuel is here and he heard me, and also Ikechukwu, just to confirm. So just send me a DM. And that brings us to the end of the session. How can I say? Um, I don't know. You didn't get the questions I asked, so I don't think there's really a need for you to send across. Yeah. Mr. Caleb, what do we do? Seems like okay. I got okay. No. Ikechukwu, please send it to me on WhatsApp, not here. My name is Joy on WhatsApp, so please just send it over. Yes, Mr. Moses, let me bring you up now. So sorry.
Joe, you called me.
Yes, I was trying to look for how we can get Moses' attention, but he's here now, so
All right.
yeah, thank you. Hi, Moses. Can you hear me? That I can't hear you. Or can anyone hear Moses? If you can, please indicate that you can. Okay, can you hear him? What do we do? Oh, you can hear him. Killer, can you hear him? Because I can't. Can anyone else hear Moses? Just to be sure. Okay. I wasn't the only one. Okay, okay. All right. Please just give me a moment. Moses, please, if you're using like a headphone or something, please can you like take it off? Maybe we can try that. I think I got something from your end. Or maybe try using a headphone or taking off any if you have it on. Or probably joining from your phone. Maybe you can speak from your phone and then um present from your PC. I don't know. Or try joining in with something else. Okay, so while that is going on, um or you can drop in the comment if you're actually speaking, so I will know. I don't know how this is going to play out. Okay. All right. Please just give me a minute. Before then, let's just be enjoying some more music. Okay, someone dropped a message. We can't hear you at all, like at all. Oof. Okay. Let's see. Sorry, trying to look for a good song. It's,
When you see me come around, I got you looking at me. I don't need to spend my cash. Cause my swag so hard to see. Cause my swag don't lie, you can't deny. You feel it right, yeah. You'll be alright, just being by my side. No need for fronting, girl. Let me tell you something, girl. No need for fronting. It's your first so good, just standing by my side. No need for fronting, girl. Let me
right. True. So sorry. I just saw someone's comment and I was about to just sing that as well. Thank you so much, Miyokun. Let me look for Moses if he's here. So I'm going to drop a Google Meets link so we can all join in there if that's okay. So we can join in there and then have Moses session there just to be able to record. But no biggie, we'll just use there. Okay, he's back on. Let's see if this is working. Hi Moses.
Hello.
Oh
Hi. Do you have me now?
yes, praise God. So I'm going to
Finally.
yeah, finally. All right.
I've been jumping between browsers and my phone. It works now. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. How we doing? Hello. Do you still have me? If you can hear me, can I get some comments? Say
Yes,
something in the comments if you can hear me.
yes, we can. They'll probably drop the comments, but we can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Fantastic. So, great session so far. Um, Stephen has covered maybe 70% of what there is to talk about in AI. So I'll just go straight to the red meat and show us what we can do with Gemini and talk about some use cases for generative AI. I will share my screen now so you can see what I'm going to demonstrate. Um, their screen. Okay, good. All right. Can you see my screen? If you can, say yes in the comments. If you guys can see my screen, please say yes in the comments. Okay, very good. Okay, so hello everybody. Once again, I'm Moses Onche, software developer, but also a coding coach at Code Campus International, Abuja. I'm going to show us some use cases for Gemini. Um, Presenting technical sessions can be tricky because you might not have a good gauge of the technical know-how of the audience. However, I'll try to carry everybody along as much as possible. Also, from the feedbacks we've seen so far, questions we've had, I think we might be able to touch on some cases and be able to show you as much as you would need to get started. So first, we go to ai.google.dev. Let's see, ai.google.dev. Oh, okay. Just open the site for me. So, to develop with Gemini, this is your entry point. It leads you to everything you need to be able to develop with Gemini. Here at the google.dev, you have access to Gemini API, which we'll be looking at. You also have access to Gemma from here. Gemma is the open source version, sort of Gemini, but a much smaller model. Um, Capable of. Okay, you also have the link to the cookbook here, just in case you haven't gotten it yet from the comments. The cookbook is also here as well, and you have community forum. Okay, so we will come back to the cookbook. Let's just briefly look at Gemini API itself. Uh, okay, yeah, okay. So let's go ahead with it. All right, so there are various ways to develop with Google Gemini, right? But we always talk about using the API, which is which tends to be more helpful to work with if you're a developer. But if you're new to programming and to AI in general, you can go with AI Studio, or you can go with Vertex AI if you are a cloud development person. So, for those of us who are new to tech, an API is basically a tool that developers use to connect to a piece of software that is not theirs, that they didn't develop. So the idea now is that Google has built this model, right? And they want to give access to the model to people all around the world. So that's what the API is for. It gives you access to be able to use Gemini in your own software, not just as a product as you have with ChatGPT and the likes. Then you can also use AI Studio, in which case you don't necessarily need an API. You just use Google's development environment to be able to build your application. But AI Studio is quite extensive. I believe Stephen has covered some use cases for AI Studio, right? But I will focus more on like developer approach to it as opposed to using AI Studio. Okay, so first thing you need to know, we've just talked about the API, right? But we might come back to it. So possible programming languages you can use with Gemini. You can use Python, you can use JavaScript via Node.js, you can use Flutter. If you're doing cross-platform development, you can use Android for Android development. Steven showed something on Android, I believe. Swift for iOS, and then Go typically for like backend development and stuff. Um, Possibly CLI applications. CLI now, command line. Okay. I'll try to carry everybody along. All right. So you have various SDKs for each of these languages, and you can use them to build for what you want. This is from the cookbook itself. So if you pick, I'm a JavaScript guy by the way, so I would go with Node.js. Okay, Python person, you pick Python, that Android, whichever programming language you're conversant with. So for people who are new to programming as a whole or new to AI as a whole, first you need to be able to understand the programming language and to be able to use it before you would be able to use this AI model. All right, so for JavaScript, you have a series of demos here. You have some within Node.js, and then you have one for the web. I'll be demonstrating that of the web, but I would also talk about that of Node.js, particularly for those doing back end, so they'll be able to catch on. If you have any questions, please just write them down so that when we get to the questions section, you can ask. All right. So I've already cloned this repository, so I'll just demonstrate from where it is. First, let's talk a bit about back to the API thing. So with APIs, you don't want to push them to GitHub, right? API is supposed to be your API key is supposed to be private so that it doesn't make you vulnerable to attacks. So you don't want to push your API to GitHub or make it public. You can make it an environmental variable. All right. If you're using Windows, how you do that is by going to this PC and then to properties, to advanced system settings, and then you go to environmental variables. If I click on this, it's going to show my API key, and since this session is being recorded, I wouldn't want to show it, right? But if you set it as an environmental variable, you set it to path, you'll be able to use it in your application. There are various other ways to do that. I think somebody was able to, for demonstration purposes anyway, he was able to save it and then in a separate file and import that as a module into his program. But you have to be careful with your API key so that you don't make it publicly available. All right. Then all of these instructions are about how to install the application after you clone the repository. So let's dive into the application itself. This is the repository, and this is for web. We'll look at Node shortly. So for web, I'll just go ahead and launch it anyway so that we can just see what it does. I'm trying to be as friendly as possible, but it's kind of hard to avoid being technical in this case. npm, oh no, sorry, cd samples slash web, and then when we are there, npm run http server, then we run that. So for those of us who are technically inclined, there's um, an HTTP server that's written for the application, right? That takes the program itself and basically uses a port and launches it for a web browser to be able to use. Okay, so this is the part where the API key is involved. If you notice now, those of us who are like JavaScript people, process the environment.api key, right? So it gets the API key from the environmental part and is able to use it in your application. All right, so let's look at the application itself. So um, click on it, open it. All right, so this demo application uses the multimodal um, capability of Gemini, and we're going to see that briefly. For those of us who don't understand what multimodality is, yes, the idea is that with something like ChatGPT, everything you do is text based, right? So you send messages, um, you send text like words, right? And ChatGPT interprets your words and gives you feedback in words. But with multimodality, you combine different input forms, so text, images, videos, audio as well, depending on what version of the model you're using. So for this particular demo, there's a combination of images. This image is, let me see if I can get the image itself. Okay, it's here. Good. So this is melon seed, or popularly known as egusi, as everybody knows, right? So we're going to see if Gemini will be able to recognize this. Now, as we know, this is in local context, right? Egusi is traditional to Nigerians. It's not necessarily well known across the world. or we want to see if we can get local context from Gemini. So we take the image itself and then we can ask, what is this? Okay, so first answer is wrong. This is a bowl of rolled oats. Oddly enough, it sort of looks like oats. I don't know. So we can try it again, I guess. It actually does look like oats. It's a low quality image, so that's understandable, I guess. So let's give it another try. Bowl of millet. Interesting. Okay, this is not millet. One more try. Still thinks it's oats. Okay, so in this case, you want to refine the prompt a little bit. So let's give it another try. Um, this is a popular staple in Nigeria. What? Oh, I can refine that a bit more. The food in this image is a popular staple in Nigeria. What is it? Right? Ofada rice. Okay. Gemini is not getting 5,000 naira from Joy, obviously. But yeah, so maybe not as refined as one would expect. But the idea now is you want to be able to use AI for local contexts, right? And sometimes it hallucinates, sometimes meant for people to use and then improvements can come out of there. But you can have multimodal usage in cases like this where you have an image uploaded to the model and then you can have a prompt. So you now make the input double faced, having an image uploaded and then having, you know what, let's even look for something else. Let's see. Mango. Everybody knows mango, I suppose. Hmm. Okay, so let's try this out. But what I'm going to do now is to twist up the prompt a little bit and make it a bit tricky. Food items. Okay. So mango. Alright. So let's try this out. Mango. Now with the prompt that'll be a bit tricky. Um, the image is a fruit. Tell me what it is and give me juice or smoothie recipes for it. Okay, so let's see. Nice. Okay, so the image is a mango. Here are some mango smoothie recipes. So now you have ingredients: peeled mango, yogurt, milk, honey, vanilla extract, and cinnamon. Uh, Mango pineapple smoothie, mango berry smoothie, and so on. So in this case, now you're giving more context to the input, not just to identify, but to actually generate useful information with it. And these are examples of use cases. Sure, Shaikh Sohil, the GitHub link. Let me get that. Let me get that. Okay. This is for JavaScript. So let me just get the main cookbook link, so you can have access to all of them, whichever language you use. Okay. So sent it. All right. So we're now able to process our world in a way that we are not quite used to, right? And we can make for very rich experiences for people using multimodal AI. Then there's also chat. I think most of us already know how to use chat. as we use with ChatGPT, right? Um, chat.html. Okay, so hello, how are you doing? Okay, are you multimodal? Can you generate images? Haha, okay, so I think there's some limitation to this this demo, but when you have access to the API itself, you should be able to leverage its multimodal capabilities and generate images on your own, right? So this is the reverse now. The previous one, in this one, we're giving it the image and giving it a prompt and asking it to do something, right? But in this case now, we're using text to generate the image output. So depending on what you're trying to build, there are several use cases to Gemini. um, then I also talked about Node, a Node demo, right? So let's look at Node, for example. I believe it was Chibuzo who asked the question if you can use this in your backend application. Yeah, so advanced text and images. So from a backend perspective, what we just did now, you can do that without necessarily using the web, right? So in this case, the images are passed into an array, right? Um, for this file to generate function converts your images to a model part. Basically, just convert it to a format that the AI model will understand and then will be able to use. And then you have the prompt. So where we're typing in text here, where we type in text, from your own application, you can make inputs to the prompt. So, an example of a use case for something like this, somebody built a tool, a command line tool. I believe it was last year when ChatGPT had just come out. His name is Hassan. Also, he used to work for Bosel, and he built a tool to auto generate um, Git commit messages. So when you want to make a commit, you don't have to think about the commit message to use. The tool reads through your code and then automatically generates a GitHub message for you and makes the commit, and that can be very helpful. This other guy, for those of us who are like Twitter heads, right? Peter Levels, I think he uses that too because like he does a lot of commits, maybe hundreds of commits a day, and writing commit messages can be a drag, right? So he just has it on auto dial essentially. He writes his code and it generates the commit messages for him and keeps track of everything. So that can be an example of a use case for um, using your model on the back end. Um, is there any need to demonstrate this? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But there are lots of applications that you can use AI for. All of it is limited to your imagination. Okay, all of it is limited to your imagination. But if you're having trouble thinking about what to build, let's say it's there, it's capable of so many things, right? But you're not sure of how to go about it, you can come back to ai.google.dev and go to examples at the top where you have the API key. You come to examples. So in the examples page, you have various application types that are just like demonstrations of what the AI is capable of. Let's have a look. Okay, this runs within AI Studio, right? But the idea now is you see how it works, and then you can use it in your own. You can use the same idea in your own application and just like tune it and customize it to how you want it to work. So the prompt here says accurately identify the baked good in the image and provide an appropriate recipe consistent with your analysis. This sounds awfully technical, very scientific. Um, But I would also show an application where you can take away the responsibility of prompting from the user and just make it easy for them. Like write a prompt that will be contextually relevant. So the user only has to upload an image and then they can get consistent results. But let's run this one and see. Okay, so chocolate chip cookies, right? And then the recipe for that. So very simple, very basic application. Um, let's see some other example. If you guys can see the screen, can somebody pick one out of this? Or maybe you guys can just pick them randomly. I'll just pick out of your comments, pick a particular one to demonstrate. Hello, are you guys still here? Sorry, I took the page away, right? So just pick one of the demonstration, one of the applications here, so we can look at the demonstration of it. Pick any of the names or pick randomly from the comments, and then we can look at the demonstration of that. Let's give 2 minutes to that. Let's see. List items from image. Okay. Brand extractor. Okay. Oh, speaking of brand extractor, I think I still have one demo to show to you guys. Um, research assistant, object identifier, post creation, blog post creation. Nice. Okay. I think we even have time to go through all three. So let's look at these three. Research assistants. Let's see, research assistants. Understand the key attributes of the research paper's methodology. Hmm. Okay, so um, just as a note, for those of us who would want to work with AI, I think it's good to learn prompt engineering, because with prompt engineering you're able to get more accurate results than you'd be able to get using like basic English. So for those of us who don't know, prompt engineering is just a way of giving very precise, very specific instructions to an AI model, so you're able to get the best answers out of it. Okay, it sort of looks obvious with something like ChatGPT. You just ask like an average question. Okay, let's say you are the PA to um, a company that supplies, let's say, stationaries, for example, right? And you want to bid for a contract with a bank, and you're supposed to write to, I don't know, the head of HR or the head of procurement or something. You go to ChatGPT and you say, just write me, write me a proposal to the head of procurement, the bank. I'm trying to supply them with office supplies, right? Very casual. Um, the kind of result that the AI model will give to you, whether Gemini or ChatGPT or whatever model you're using, the kind of results it will give you will be quite different from when you frame it up and you say, okay, you are you are the personal assistant to the CEO of a company that supplies stationaries to banks. Write out a proposal for a bid, a proposal or a bid for a contract to be able to supply a bank with, I don't know, 100,000 pens or something. You get what I mean? So now you're giving more context to the model, and the model is able to give you a more refined, more contextual, better result than if you just write it casually. So prompt engineering is very useful when it comes to building with AI. So you want to pick that up as a side skill while you work with AI. Now back to the model. So research assistant. You're an expert scientific researcher who has years of experience in conducting systematic literature surveys, more and more context. You pride yourself. Interestingly, right, with models, when you use emotional language, just as you do with people, like as we do with people, where you talk to somebody and give them some praise because you want to get them to do something, right? They are more willing to do it when you sort of massage their ego. Oddly enough, well, not so odd, because AI is trained with human data, right? But it also works with them too. So if you put some praise into your prompts, part of prompt engineering, you get some very spectacular results. You pride yourself on incredible accuracy and attention to detail. You always stick to the facts in the sources provided, right? Never make up new facts. So all of these context help it to tone down on its hallucination, right? And to make its answer as clean and as accurate as possible. Now the request comes in. Now look at the research paper below. Answer the following questions in one or two sentences. When was the paper published? The size, methodology, how was it funded? What's the key question behind the study? What the key findings to the key question? What about other questions are there, right? And then the name, okay, the contents of the paper. So in your building too, this is also an interesting thing. Hopefully somebody picks it up and tries to solve it. People have found that it's quite difficult to give PDF files to multimodal AI because they tend to hallucinate. With prompt engineering, there's also the aspect of giving the model an incentive, like promising it $10 if it doesn't work. Ah, that's very good. So even money works as a motivation for AI. That's kind of weird, right? But it works. Okay, so right now it's difficult for people to use PDF with AI models. So hopefully somebody gets to figure that out, right? But for now, you have to like highlight the text and copy it into the model to be able to use it. Okay, so now like the entire paper is highlighted, copied, and pasted into the model before you can run it. So if somebody figures PDF out, you'll be doing the entire world a favor. Or better still, if you manage to build it into a company, you'd make a killing. I think you will. So you're either um, altruistic and you just like, oh, hey world, you guys can have this, right? Or you're like, okay, pay me first or something. So, but we need somebody to figure out PDF and AI models. So here's the feedback, the summary from the AI analysis of the miracle of finance, and then notice how it numbered each answer to address each question, right? I think there's 6 questions in total, and then it answered each question one by one. Is it here? Oh, this is a lot of text. Yeah, okay. So 6 questions, right? And then it gave answers to each of those questions, right? Each of those questions. So this is an example of how prompt engineering can give you very precise answers to what you're looking for. So let's look at something else. Object identifier. Okay. So object identifier. Here it is. Get a description of an object and its uses from a photo. Okay. For this one, I would want to try. Let's see. What object is this? Describe how it might be used. Okay, and then you have like various examples, right? Okay. So add a text example. Oh no, this is the prompt part. Aha, very good. All right. So what object is this? And describe how it might be used. So you have like various examples, right? So let's see. Insert an image either from Google Drive or from sample images or to upload something. Oh, right. You have to be signed in to be able to use this one. But you get the idea, right? Um, it's similar to the recipe. Where is it? The recipe creator, but in this case, it's more generalized. So for recipe creator, the prompt says check try to generate the recipe for this baked good or food item, right? For object identifier is more generalized. So maybe can be useful for engineers or mechanics, for example. If there's a part that they're looking at and they're not sure what it's used for, you can build something like that, right? That can be useful for engineers to be able to identify various parts. You can build a play app for children, right? Maybe like a game or something. So maybe like guess guess what this object is, or guess what this color is, or guess what this shape is. If they get it right, you give them a point or something. I'm just like throwing ideas out there, right? But for something like object identifier, those are examples of use cases um, for that. Then blog post creation. Okay, blog post creation generates a unique blog post from a single image. Wow, that's going to be some serious prompt engineering. But let's see. Write a short, engaging blog post based on this image. It should pardon me, include a description of the meal in the photo and talk about my journey meal prepping. Oh, so something like a food blog, right? Like you're cooking for maybe trying out a new recipe and you want to create content around it. So this can be useful for that. So let's give it a run and see. Meal prepping is a great way to save time and money. It can also help you eat healthier, etc. etc. Breaks things into paragraphs, right? And then you have even a recipe suggestion. This is great. I suppose you can also, yeah, so write a short. If you say write a long, engaging blog post, if you make it long, let's see what it's like. Okay, still generating more paragraphs, right? So now it gives more context into meal prepping, best practices, I suppose, around it. But this time it didn't give the recipe. So you can add the recipe part into the prompt and say, okay, create a section to show the recipe for the meal in the image. So that works as well. Then you can also play around with some of the parameters to get you better outputs. I believe Steven spoke about temperature, how increasing the temperature increases creativity, decreasing it increases accuracy, right? Okay, yeah. So that's it for blog post creator. I was hoping I'd be able to upload. Why do I have to log in? For goodness sake. I was hoping I'd be able to upload something that is local and contextual and see if we can generate content around that. That would be wonderful. But or we can do that here. Yeah, I think we can. So let's see. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, Bello. Yeah. So it has been the talk of the town or the country as a whole for a while now. So let's see if we can generate content around it. Um, yeah, yeah, Bello. All right. So yeah, I think this one has a large enough context window. So let's see what we can get. First, we can borrow this prompt and then maybe augment it a little bit. Okay, says the mail. We can use it. Okay, so using, I'm creating the prompt now, right? Using information from Nigeria's recent political environment. Identify this man and write a short blog post about who he is and what he has done. Okay, so let's see if this works. This is I don't think it's a fine enough prompt, but let's see if it gets us anything. Ha, Shema Kinde. Okay, so like I said, the prompt needs some refining. But come on, Shema Kinde, really. So this is Yaya Bello, not Shema Kinde, right? But you get what I'm getting at, right? To get the idea of what I'm going for. So I suppose when we start to use this more and begin to create more local context for it, then it can be very useful for us I don't know if that makes sense. Or okay, no. If I change the prompt to what just came to mind, it will give more context to it and to kind of defeat the whole purpose. But you can do something like maybe write a 5 line paragraph, right, about the case. No, that's still not enough. That's still not enough. You need like a lot of local knowledge around the subject to be able to do that. But we need to be able to use AI more locally, right? So that we can have more context to ourselves, not just from what comes from the Western world. Okay. All right. So those are three examples of use cases. Now I'm going to show something that my team built at Build with AI. So we had a Build with AI session at Code Campus International about 3 weeks ago, and I was a mentor in in the hacker. It was a hackathon, okay, and the teams were given about 2 hours to build something. So my team worked on this prize mat. Oh, prize mat. Come on, don't do this to me. Okay, all right, nice. Okay, so this is what my team worked on, price mat, and the idea behind this particular application is to be able to give a price estimate for food items. So the core idea or the problem statement was that going to the market these days is kind of difficult because you don't know what the current price of an item might be due to hyperinflation as we're dealing with, right? So the idea now is to be able to give people an idea of what something might cost before they're able to go to the market so that they can improve their budget. So that was the idea for this. So it uses multimodal, Google Gemini's multimodal AI, right? I'm looking for trouble. The Egusi again. Let's go. So in this case now, we sort of abstracted the prompting part away from the user. So we, by knowledge of prompt engineering, came up with our own prompt to handle that. So all the user needs to do is to upload the image of the food item, right? And then um, it will identify the food item. I still think it's millet. Identify the food item and then give a price estimate. So 213 naira per kilogram, right? But the real power behind what we did was not just for single food items. Sorry, we also should be able to handle lists, right? List of food items. Let me see. Yeah. So not just a single food item. So if you draft out a list, now we're looking at multiple capabilities. You're looking at OCR. For those of us who don't know, OCR is basically being using computers to interpret human handwriting. So if you write with a pen, right, the computer should be able to recognize that. AI models already have that capability. Gemini has that, so we're leveraging that. So either it's a food item or it's a list you're taking to the market, and it should be able to tell you the price of each item on the list. Let's hope it doesn't hallucinate today. All right, so we take the list and then we just hit go. Okay, so while it's loading, the next step even for something like this is to also take away the part of uploading the item. I didn't work. Let me hit stop again. So taking away like uploading the image, the user should be able to just take a picture of something, right, and get a response. I don't know if that makes sense. That's a better use case for everyday people than just than giving them the responsibility of uploading images. For those of us who are around our parents very often, you find that sometimes uploading a picture might be a challenge for them, and we need a more let's say more user-friendly world, in the sense that we want people to be able to just do things directly instead of like having to develop technical knowledge about what a file icon looks like, and then searching through their gallery to get a particular image, if it's from Bluetooth or from WhatsApp or from wherever, right? Okay, so now we have the list. Skinless white meat, 1 kilogram, 1,200 naira. Um Lean cut of red meat, 1.5. I don't know if there's anybody, any trader here confirming the prices. Oily fish, 1 kilogram, 1,000 naira. Tuna, salmon, mackerel, breakfast cereals, bread, one loaf, 300 naira. Well, I suppose it depends on the size. Rice, 1 kilogram, 200 naira. Okay, so rice has there are different ways of measuring rice, right? So 50 kg would be around what, 10,000 naira, I suppose. Um, no, not very good. Okay, pasta, 1 kilogram of pasta, 300 naira. Okay, so you get the idea, right? We're trying to create, but you get what we're going for. So I think the one of the problems with the app, not the problem per se, but like one of the problems left to solve is that the data we have available to us is outdated. So in the prompt, part of our input is to be able to check the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics to get these prices, right? And then to calculate that using the inflation rate to give an estimate. So that's the idea behind it. But you have like multiple layers of problems. So first of all, Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, their data, I think the last they collected was 2022, right? So that's the first problem. Second problem is hallucination. AI models use language to do computation, and they don't necessarily use calculator. So sometimes the figure, even though like you might get like the inflation rate right, you might get the price estimate for 2022, it might hallucinate its calculations, right? So that might also be a problem. So these problems are not like stoppages; they're just getting you to think, okay, so how do I work around this to be able to provide more local context? And eventually, you find you build something that's really useful. Okay, something that really works. So um, all of these are just to show you various ideas about how you can work with um, Gemini to build very useful demo applications, right? To be as creative as possible. But finally, I suppose giving very practical advice around building demos should also come in very handy. So the first thing with building a good demo is that you want to build something that really showcases the power of the technology you're working with. All right. So for example, multimodal AI. So like I said, imagine give if you give your phone, or you collect your phone from your mom or your dad, you install an application, right? And you give it to them and say, okay, mommy, you're going to the market, right? Take a photo of your list and you get estimated price items. And she does that. Do you know how mind blowing it's going to be for her? Or you understand like the various layers you have to cross to be able to achieve that. But because it's an instant result, right? It becomes very useful to her. Okay, so you want to build something that really showcases the power of the technology you're using. You don't want to build something that looks like something else that's already out there, because people are going to ask you. If you build something that, for example, ChatGPT can already do, somebody's going to tell you, I can just use ChatGPT, right? And then you'll have to start to try to defend what you're building. But when you build something that really uses, like showcases the power of what you're building, possibly more accurate results than ChatGPT, or more context, more local context, then you can get people's attention. Okay. The next is, if you're short on ideas, you can work on something that solves your own personal problems. So if you notice something that really annoys you, right, in your everyday life, you can then try to build something around that, and it can make for a very good story. So then you can say, okay, this thing has been a challenge for me for 2 weeks for my life, uh, or I went somewhere and I had an experience with this, and then I built this to solve to solve that problem. It's very relatable to people to be able to see that and be drawn more to what you built. All right. Then finally, okay, finally, it doesn't have to be a world changing problem that you're working on. It can be something very simple or even silly. But as long as it gets people's attention and gets them excited about what you're building, then that in itself is already some value. Okay. If you build a time machine and nobody can use it, there's really no point, right? Okay, build a time machine, you throw, I don't know, granite or stone into it. That's not very useful, is it? But if you build a time machine and you can send somebody back to their fifth birthday or to their first wedding anniversary or something, then it becomes relevant, right? So you want to build something first that is useful and valuable and relatable to people. It doesn't have to cure cancer or like fix world peace or something, but something that is inherently human and can be experienced by other people, can get people's attention when you build demos, when you build applications for other people to use. So that's all from my end. I'll be taking questions now. Thank you. Hello, anybody with questions? If you have questions, you can ask. Or if you notice something you want to make a comment, that works as well. Yeah, thank you, Triumph. I appreciate the feedback. So it seems about half of the participants are off. Yeah, thank you, Ruben. Thank you. Okay, this has been what, 3 hours, I believe, almost 3 hours now. So it's been really long. Um, it'll be a good time to try to wrap it up so people can get back to enjoying their weekend. Thank you, Adeoshun. An exciting session. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you, Ayomide. Shaik, do I get a participation certificate? I'm not sure. I think Joy will have to respond to that. I'm not sure yet. Okay, thank you, Zainab. I appreciate that. Oh yeah, by the way, so while we are waiting for um, Joy to come back, I can show you some of the funny use cases we had. Okay, please, the interface for the examples, could you take it again? The interface for the examples. Okay, so again, if you missed it the first time, you go to ai.google.dev, ai.google.dev, and then you go to examples. Okay, at the top, um, at the navigation bar at the top, you go to examples. Then you can pick any of the examples here, and you open that in a new tab, and now you have the interface to work with. Or you can go to AI Studio directly. So what I would advise is, let's say you're trying to learn how to build something close to this, right? You can open another tab for AI Studio, uh, Google AI Studio, sorry, UDIO. Okay, so you can open AI Studio, and then you can try to replicate the results from what they have here. Just play around with it. Okay, try to have fun with it. Um, so that's it about the interface. Okay, Adeoshun, is it possible to crawl websites with Gemini to get information? Yes, you can do that. So with price mat, that's a part of the prompt, right? I don't want to show the prompt because I don't have the permission of the team. I don't want to show basically the code for it, but part of the prompt involves telling the model to crawl the internet and look for a particular information. So ChatGPT, depending on the version, depending on the model you're using, if it's 3.5 or 4, I think 3.5 is limited to its training data, but 4 has access to the internet. Gemini also has access to the internet, so it can check for current information on the internet. Yes, you can crawl the web with a model. All right, thank you, Christiana. Adeoshun, I hope that answered your question. Okay, so after we built price mats, I decided to throw it out there, right, and see what um, what people thought and the kind of things they would use it for. Let's see. Image is a list of food items. Food items are spaghetti, milk, Milo, tomatoes, pepper, okra, onion, bread. The current prices of food items are not available in the image. Okay, so I think this was a miss. Let's see. The image is of a bag of rice. The bag is labeled right, so it even picked out the brand of whoever is producing or packaging rice, right? Estimated the weight, the size of the bag, and then estimated the price for the bag. So sometimes it's actually very good, right? I think this came from a friend. My brother's use case was kind of interesting. Yeah, this was my brother's use case. So my brother took a photo of already cooked noodles and sent it to the AI. It's supposed to be for somebody who wants to go to the market, right? But now you see how different it can be when people want to use the application. So he took a plate of noodles and he was still able to give an estimate, however old, but he did say that it was last updated at December of 2022. So the size of the noodle pack and the price, right? And then the time he got the price from. And then we also had somebody took a picture of akara bean cakes, right? And then estimated the current price 1,000 naira for 6 pieces. So I suppose it depends on where you're buying, right? There are places in Abuja here you can get for 1,000 naira for 6 pieces, but typically it's like 50 naira, 100 naira, right? Okay. Oh, I think I should join. You guys can notify Joy on the group chat. Notify Joy on the group chat so she can
Yeah,
come
I'm
back
here. What's up?
and anchor the section. All right, Joy is back.
Yeah,
Hi, Joy.
I'm back. Hi, Moses. Thank you so much for this session. I'm so thankful and grateful. It was a whole lot. Thank you so much. Please, guys, let's drop in the comment section. Thanking Moses for this session. I'm pretty sure we all learned a lot. Um, okay, before I move ahead, Moses, is there any other thing you would want to say?
Thank you. Oh yeah, sorry. Before apologies. Now that you brought it up, before I go, for those of us who are in Abuja or you have people here who are interested in learning programming, you can send them over to Code Campus International. I think I should drop the link in the group chat for you guys so they can come in and have a conversation with us. Um, they can have a conversation with us for prospects around the tech industry, what they're interested in learning, and then we can show them our programs.